Chapter 687. Interdependence Chamber of Commerce could become one of the three associations in Moi City because of the none to depend on wine. In Moi City, Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's businesses were all located in Interdependence Merchant House. This included Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's rest stop, restaurants, pill pavilions, artifact pavilions and so on. Countless cultivators entered and exited Interdependence Merchant House every day. As such, Ning Cheng and Mo Wang, who had disguised themselves as Starry Skies Wanderers, entered Interdependence Merchant House. There were just too many Starry Skies Wanderers who came to Interdependence Merchant House. "Hey, we want booth 19. Ning Cheng walked to the counter and called out directly. The shop assistant at the counter glanced at Ning Cheng and Mo Wang and spoke with a calm voice, "Sorry, booth 19. Ning Cheng did not wait for the shop assistant to finish and threw out a jade bottle. "This is your tip." The shop assistant grabbed the jade bottle and swept it with his spiritual consciousness. When he found that the jade bottle contained 100 perpetual moon pills, his face immediately showed some surprise. A tip of 100 perpetual moon pills, these two Starry Skies Wanderers truly were rich. "Two guests, please wait a moment. I'll arrange it for you." The shop assistant waved his hand, and the jade bottle disappeared. His tone also turned polite. Ning Cheng and Mo Wang did not have to wait for long before the shop assistant came over with a smile. "Two guests, booth 19 is now empty. Please come in." Ning Cheng nodded to the shop assistant, threw out a storage bag and said, "Give us 2 pots of ordinary none to depend on wine. Consider the extra as your errand fee. My friend and I have something important to discuss, so don't disturb us." "Yes, yes." The shop assistant quickly responded, but the surprise on his face could no longer be contained. When this guest first arrived, he had already rewarded him with 100 perpetual moon pills. Now that he took out so many perpetual moon pills, it truly showed how rich he was. After entering booth 19, Ning Cheng casually activated the restrictions. Only then did Mo Wang breathe a sigh of relief and speak up in admiration, "Senior truly is amazing. This junior has come here no less than 1,000 times, but only managed to enter this booth 5 times. Ning Cheng ignored Mo Wang's words. His spiritual consciousness swept around booth 19 and spoke up with some doubt, "There's nothing special about it. Some of the restrictions are just ordinary isolation restrictions." Mo Wang quickly spoke up, "Senior, please wait a moment." After saying that, Mo Wang took out a dark red jade card, walked to the left corner of the box and embedded the jade card. After a while, a faint light flashed, followed by a few slight explosions, and an entrance appeared in front of Ning Cheng and Mo Wang. Ning Cheng secretly admired it in his heart. It really was a very good concealment array formation. With his formation skills, he actually couldn't see it just now. "Senior, there's another stone door behind this entrance. Junior is unable to open this stone door. After entering this place a few times, I am also unable to open it," explained Mo Wang. "Come in with me." Ning Cheng flashed into the entrance. Mo Wang quickly followed behind Ning Cheng and entered the entrance. After Mo Wang put away the jade card, the entrance to booth 19 once again returned to its original state. One had to say that the array formation at the entrance was extremely brilliant. Mo Wang was right. There really was a huge stone door here. This stone door obviously couldn't be opened by brute force. Once brute force was used in this place, it would immediately be noticed by others. Ning Cheng took out the array flags and began to arrange an array formation. After an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng finally finished arranging the array formation. He then put both hands on the stone door and pushed it to the side. Rumble. A muffled sound emerged, and the stone door moved to the side, revealing a dark passage in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng secretly cursed in his heart. This muffled sound would definitely spread out, and once it spread out, someone would definitely come to investigate. Seeing Ning Cheng checking the movements outside, Mo Wang spoke up from the side, "Senior, you don't have to worry. Even if the sound spread out, it wouldn't be too loud. Moreover, because of the Shui clan, Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's eternal level cultivators shouldn't be here. Mo Wang spoke the truth. Ning Qing waited for a while, but did not hear any sound. He then said to Mo Wang, "You follow me." After walking down the passage for nearly 100 meters, Ning Qing once again saw a stone door in front of him. However, this stone door was very simple. Ning Qing didn't even need to use an array formation. With just a gentle push, the stone door opened. What appeared in front of Ning Qing was a large space with a radius of dozens of meters. Rich starry sky essence qi permeated the space. Ning Qing, with his rich experience, immediately understood that this place contained a starry sky essence qi vein. At the top of this room were 2 cyan jade buckets with the words "best quality none to depend on" written on them. Moreover, it didn't give off the slightest smell of alcohol. In addition, there was also a white jade stone platform with an isolation restriction over it. Inside the restriction were 3 things. In the middle was a crystal ball, on the left was a ring, and on the right was a jade strip. "Senior, this isolation restriction requires this junior's blood to open it. Forcibly opening it will destroy it." Mo Wang suppressed the surprise and desire in his eyes and spoke to Ning Qing with a respectful tone. Ning Qing nodded, "Go ahead and open it." Mo Wang walked up to the isolation restriction and cut his finger. When his blood fell on the restriction, the isolation restriction immediately disappeared. Mo Wang didn't touch the things on the white jade stone platform. Instead, he stood to the side and said, "Senior, the restriction has been opened." Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had already swept past the 3 things. Seeing that Mo Wang didn't touch the 3 things, he nodded and said, "That ring is the inheritance of your Mo clan. There should be a lot of cultivation resources inside. This junior doesn't want any of those cultivation resources." Mo Wang quickly spoke up. Ning Qing waved his hand, "You're overthinking it. You can take the ring, but I don't want any of those things. I won't go so far as to rob your Mo clan's inheritance. That jade strip should contain the brewing method for the none to depend on wine. You can engrave a copy for me later. As for the crystal ball, it should contain the none to depend on spirit technique. Since I can't copy it, you can have it. Senior." Mo Wang quickly knelt on the ground. This junior doesn't dare to take it. He thought that Ning Qing had deliberately tested him. Once he really wanted it, Ning Qing would immediately kill him. Ning Qing smiled, "Do you think I lied to you? Don't worry. Although your Mo clan's things are good, I won't go so far as to violate my bottom line to snatch them from you." Mo Wang finally determined that Ning Cheng's words were true, and he couldn't contain his excitement. For him, bringing an outsider here and obtaining the inheritance was already a joyous event. He even came here with the thought of dying. Once he met a greedy person, he, Mo Wang, would definitely die. "Senior, this junior only needs a ring. The none to depend on spirit technique is too far away for this junior. As for the brewing jade strip, senior can engrave a copy for this junior." Mo Wang thanked Ning Qing again and took away the ring. Seeing that Mo Wang didn't dare to take the other 2 things, Ning Qing understood that Mo Wang spoke the truth. It would be a waste to give him the none to depend on spirit technique. At least, Mo Wang couldn't use it right now. Ning Qing put away the crystal ball and said, "In that case, I'll borrow the none to depend on spirit technique for now. I'll give it to you in the future. As for the brewing jade strip, I'll engrave one for you." Putting away the brewing jade strip Ning Qing gave him, Mo Wang felt even more grateful. "Senior, these 2 barrels of the best none to depend on wine are my Mo clan's best. Senior, please put them away." Ning Qing put away one of the barrels and said to Mo Wang, "Since these are the last 2 barrels of your Mo clan's none to depend on wine, we'll each take one. You can put away the other barrel and leave this place immediately." "Senior." Mo Wang looked at Ning Qing in doubt. He didn't understand why Ning Qing wanted him to leave this place immediately. Ning Qing pointed to a corner of the room and said, "This is the location of the entire Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's Starry Sky Essence Qi vein. I want to extract this essence chi vein. Since this starry sky essence chi vein is useful to me, I won't share it with you. Mo Wang opened his mouth wide. This senior Cheng had too much courage. After extracting the starry sky essence chi vein, could he still walk out of Moi City? Senior, the Interdependence restaurant has many powerhouses. If you want to extract the starry sky essence chi vein, I'm afraid. Mo Wang had a lot of respect for Ning Cheng's expert demeanor. Therefore, he truly felt worried about Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng smiled, "You don't have to worry about me. I'll start in an hour. What you have to do now is to leave this place quickly. Otherwise, after I start, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave this place." While talking, Ning Cheng brought the other barrel of none to depend on wine to Mo Wang. Mo Wang once again bowed to the ground. Senior's kindness, this Mo Wang will never forget it. After saying that, he didn't stand on ceremony and put away the other barrel of none to depend on wine. After bowing to Ning Cheng again, he quickly left. After Mo Wang left, Ning Cheng started to arrange array formations. As he threw out array flags, the surrounding starry sky spirit chi grew even denser. In just half an incense stick worth of time, one end of the starry sky essence chi vein appeared in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng arranged a few more movement array formations around the starry sky essence chi vein before starting to wait. When he estimated that an hour had almost passed, he threw out the last few array flags. Celestial essence poured out and wrapped around the essence chi vein. With the help of the array formations, he finally extracted the starry sky essence chi vein. Boom boom boom. A dull roar erupted from under the Interdependence merchant house. With Ning Cheng extracting the starry sky essence chi vein, many of the array formations in the Interdependence merchant house lost their effects, and the beautiful Interdependence merchant house started to collapse. This kind of merchant house built on various array formations, as long as the starry sky essence chi vein was extracted, its foundation would become unstable. Someone extracted the starry sky essence chi vein. A sharp cry rang out, and the powerhouses of Interdependence Chamber of Commerce swarmed towards the Interdependence merchant house. At the same time, Duan Gantai, who was hiding in a corner of the Shui clan and arranging an array formation, suddenly felt his expression change. Even if he hid in the Shui clan, he would still be able to hear the commotion caused by the extraction of the essence chi vein. At this moment, his face turned livid with anger. As long as he had 2 more hours, he could have extracted the Shui clan's starry sky essence chi vein. But at this time, someone else wanted to do the same thing as him and even alerted the enemy. With the starry sky essence chi vein extracted from the Interdependence Chamber of Commerce, it would be strange if other people did not focus on protecting the starry sky essence chi vein. If this father finds out who you are, this father will swallow you whole. Duan Gantai cursed while throwing out an escape talisman. Although the starry sky essence chi vein was good, life was more important. Chapter 688. Ning Cheng didn't know that he had ruined Duan Gantai's plans. But even if he knew, he would not hesitate to take away Moi Chamber of Commerce's starry sky essence chi vein. Not to mention that this essence chi vein belonged to the Mo clan and was taken away by the Interdependence Chamber of Commerce. Even without Mo Wang, he would not have let go of this starry sky essence chi vein. What did he lack the most right now? Wasn't it cultivation resources? Ning Cheng didn't guess wrong. Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's starry sky essence chi vein had suddenly been taken away, and the Chamber of Commerce couldn't even react. Ning Cheng even calmly left Moi City. After leaving Moi City, Ning Cheng didn't go far before he sensed Duan Gantai's connecting spirit silk again. Duan Gantai, who had disappeared for half a day, finally regained contact. Ning Cheng understood that Duan Gantai must have gone to do something since he cut off the connecting spirit silk. Moreover, he didn't want him to know about it. Now that he restored the connecting spirit silk, it meant that he had completed his task. Ning Cheng also had some private matters to attend to, so he did not unlock the seal on the connecting spirit silk. Since Duan Gantai didn't want him to know about it, then he naturally didn't want Duan Gantai to know about it. However, he finally understood why Duan Gantai was so generous and gave him the address of the Temple of Time. This fellow was afraid that if he got angry, he would also cut off the connecting spirit silk, and then the two would lose contact. Giving him the address of the Temple of Time had only one purpose. That is, in case the two couldn't contact each other, he could go to the Temple of Time. What a cunning thing. Not far from Moi City, Duan Gantai gnashed his teeth again. He had not guessed it wrong. If he could untie the connecting spirit silk alone, then Ning Cheng could also do the same. He had thought that Ning Cheng would agree to the connecting spirit silk so easily. It turned out that Ning Cheng was the same as him. Sacred Light Mountain Range, this name sounded very imposing. In fact, there was nothing here except for a barren land. Even the starry sky essence chi here was much poorer than other places. Moreover, not to mention sacred light, even ordinary sunlight would find it difficult to shine here. If it weren't for a small temple that was famous throughout the entire mysterious Yellow Starland, only a few people would know about Sacred Light Mountain. This small temple also had a majestic name, the mysterious Yellow Holy Temple. Because of this small temple, the Sacred Light Mountain Range not only became famous throughout the mysterious Yellow Starland, but also attracted an endless stream of cultivators. Its most famous time was when a mystic realm within the mysterious Yellow Starland was about to open. At that time, the Sacred Light Mountain Range was surrounded by cultivators who came to pay their respects. All the cultivators who came to the Sacred Light Mountain Range only had one thing in mind, and that was to go to the Sacred Light Mountain Range's mysterious Yellow Temple to worship and enhance their luck. However, in recent years, fewer and fewer cultivators came to the Sacred Light Mountain Range to pay their respects. The reason was not only that the mysterious Yellow Holy Temple was becoming more and more dilapidated, but also because many cultivators found that worshipping the mysterious Yellow Holy Temple did not seem to increase their luck much. Those who were supposed to fall would still fall. When Ning Cheng arrived at the Sacred Light Mountain Range, he did not see a single person. To be honest, Ning Cheng felt that the Sacred Light Mountain Range in front of him could not even be called a mountain range, but rather a small hill. Within a radius of several hundred miles around the Sacred Light Mountain Range, there was nothing but loess. It could be said that not even a blade of grass grew there. From afar, it looked like a large piece of yellow cloth dotted with a gray dot. And this black dot was naturally the location of the famous mysterious Yellow Starland's mysterious Yellow Temple, the Sacred Light Mountain Range. Even if the wind was not strong, the entire Sacred Light Mountain Range had turned into a yellow haze. It was as if a yellow haze had covered everything. As the yellow haze obscured the sunlight, it could no longer shine on the periphery of the Sacred Light Mountain Range. Ning Cheng put away his flight-type weapon and landed on the loess on the periphery of the Sacred Light Mountain Range. Just as he was about to sweep out with his spiritual consciousness, he was surprised to find that the yellow sky, which had been blown by the wind, had turned quiet in an instant. The yellow dust seemed to have suddenly increased and fell to the ground, as if gravity had suddenly increased. In just a few breaths, the entire surroundings of the Sacred Light Mountain Range became clear. The yellow dust disappeared, and the sunlight fell directly on the loess of the Sacred Light Mountain Range. It felt as if someone was praying in Ning Cheng's ears. Ning Cheng stopped and wanted to listen carefully, but found that the voice had disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng frowned and felt a little strange. Did the mysterious yellow temple in the Sacred Light Mountain Range really have something to do with his mysterious yellow bead? Standing in place for a while, Ning Cheng did not find any abnormalities, so he continued to head towards the Sacred Light Mountain Range. Ning Cheng did not walk too fast. After half an incense stick worth of time, he stood at the foot of the Sacred Light Mountain Range. A strange feeling welled up in his heart, giving him a familiar feeling that was hard to describe. As Ning Cheng walked up the mountain range, this feeling grew even stronger. At this moment, Ning Cheng even wanted to turn around and leave. However, this strong feeling made him want to go up and have a look. After another half an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng finally stood at the entrance of the mysterious Yellow Temple. The mysterious Yellow Temple was dilapidated, with half of the temple's eaves broken. However, a majestic and solemn feeling rose unconsciously in Ning Cheng's heart. Ning Cheng subconsciously stepped through the temple's door. If the outside of the mysterious yellow temple looked simple and dilapidated, then after entering, the mysterious yellow temple looked even more shabby. The entire temple was no more than 5 square meters in size. A simple, broken futon was placed in the middle. In front of the futon was a stone altar. Behind the altar was a small shrine, and in the shrine was a clay statue. Ning Cheng's gaze had just fallen on the clay statue when a buzzing sound rang out in his mind. An incomparably solemn voice rang out in his mind. He seemed to see himself standing in the middle of an endless void. Above this endless void, there was a powerhouse with boundless magic sitting on top of the clouds. Thousands of 7-colored rays of light shone down from the sky and fell on this powerhouse with boundless magic power. Countless people knelt on the ground and kowtowed in worship. Whether it was a peddler, an emperor, a general, a minister, a cultivator, or an immortal, bye-bye. A voice rang out in Ning Cheng's mind, telling Ning Cheng to kneel on the praying mat and worship. Worship me, and I can grant you supreme power. Worship me, and I can grant you supreme great Tao. Worship me, and I can grant you supreme inheritance. Worship me, and I can grant you life for the universe. Worship me. At this moment, Ning Cheng's entire mind was filled with worshipping, kneeling, praying, and chanting pious words. At this moment, Ning Cheng's legs trembled, and a voice kept calling for him to kneel down and worship. As long as he worshipped, he could get everything he wanted. However, there was another voice in his mind, and this voice kept telling him that this was not what he wanted. Why did he not want it? Why did he become a starry sky cultivator? Wasn't it for power? Only with great power would he be able to control his own destiny. Cold sweat dripped down Ning Cheng's face, and he could barely breathe under this kind of pressure. Besides worshipping, he had no other choice. No. A more tenacious thought emerged in the depths of Ning Cheng's mind. The most powerful power could not be given by others, and the most powerful Tao could not be attained by others. No matter how powerful the power given to you by others was, the person who gave you the power would always be stronger than you. The Tao given to you by others, even if you could attain the supreme Tao, the person who gave you the Tao would also be more powerful than you. No matter how old the inheritance given to you by others was, it would always be after others. If others gave you life for the universe, you would only be a chess piece in someone else's hands. From the moment Ning Cheng developed his own thoughts, he firmly believed that there was no such thing as a meat pie falling from the sky. It was like this in the past, it would be like this in the future, and it must still be like this now. Even if Ning Cheng wanted to attain the most powerful power and attain the supreme Tao, he would have to do it through his own efforts, not through this kind of method. Kacha! Ning Cheng's leg bone broke. Even with the strength of his celestial river body, it still broke. The pressure was too terrifying, and it was getting stronger and stronger. At this time, even if the Swani's worshipping voice grew stronger and more bewitching, it could not make Ning Cheng voluntarily worship it. He was such a skeleton. If he didn't want to do something, then he would die, and he would never compromise. Ning Cheng, who forcibly resisted the pressure, vaguely heard a sound of surprise, and then the bewitching voice disappeared without a trace. Instead, a more powerful force came crashing over. Ning Cheng brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort and collided with the powerful force. It was like a spring thunder explosion, with endless roars. In just a few breaths, Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort's shadow shattered. The powerful force directly rushed into Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness, suppressing Ning Cheng to the point that he couldn't breathe. Ning Cheng instantly understood that this was not the power of true essence, nor was it the power of celestial essence. His everlasting blue thunder fort was controlled by celestial essence and spiritual consciousness. Therefore, under this mysterious force, it simply could not resist. He had seen this kind of power before, it was the power of hope. Ning Cheng immediately remembered the imperial jade seal he obtained, the imperial jade seal with the Lan Yi True Country's emblem on it, and a pale golden imperial jade seal with a bird that he couldn't recognize. When he obtained the Imperial Jade Seal and used the power of hope from the Imperial Jade Seal, countless people worshipping the Lan Yi True country's temples appeared in his mind. Because the Imperial Jade Seal was worshipped, it obtained the power of hope. Later, he used up all the power of hope in the Imperial Jade Seal, but the Imperial Jade Seal remained by his side. Today, he once again encountered the power of hope. This power of hope was many times stronger than the power of hope in the Imperial Jade Seal. Boom! Ning Qing finally understood this point, when his sea of consciousness exploded, and a giant golden hand directly grabbed into his sea of consciousness. Without hesitation, it grabbed the mysterious yellow bead hidden in the depths of his sea of consciousness. The mysterious yellow bead gave out a buzzing sound, as if it could not escape. A violent external force rushed into Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness. Even if Ning Cheng had a starry sky sea of consciousness, he still could not bear it at this moment. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Son of a bitch. First you want me to worship you, and now you even want to snatch my mysterious yellow bead. The anger in Ning Cheng's heart erupted like 3 rivers and 4 seas. Chapter 689. Unfortunately, no matter how angry Ning Cheng felt, he could not stop the giant golden hand from invading his sea of consciousness. For a long time, Ning Cheng was most proud of his sea of consciousness. He had a starry sky sea of consciousness, which made him several times more powerful than cultivators of the same level. If a cultivator dared to enter his sea of consciousness, it would only be courting death. But today, someone really invaded his sea of consciousness. Even his everlasting Blue Thunder City could not resist it. As for the celestial river flame, Ning Cheng did not intend to take it out. The celestial river flame could not even undergo nirvana, which meant that its grade was just too low. The everlasting Blue Thunder City's shadow continued to shatter, while Ning Cheng continuously condensed it. Even so, it could only barely delay the giant golden hand. Was there any other way to stop this giant golden hand? Ning Cheng looked at the giant hand getting closer and closer to the mysterious yellow bead, feeling anxious in his heart. Once he lost the mysterious yellow bead, he would have nothing left. In fact, he also knew that once the mysterious yellow bead was taken away, he would turn into powder the next moment. After taking away his mysterious yellow bead, the other party would still let him go, even he did not believe it. The other party could only try to show off in his sea of consciousness, indicating that the owner of this giant golden hand had not condensed a corporeal body and was just an essence spirit. Was there any way to stop this abominable giant golden hand? How could he block this terrifyingly powerful essence spirit? He had never come into contact with the power of hope and only knew that it was a kind of power of faith. How could he resist it? Right, the Imperial Jade Seal. This Imperial Jade Seal originally stored the power of hope. If he used the Imperial Jade Seal to block the giant hand from invading his sea of consciousness, would it work? Regardless of whether it worked or not, Ning Cheng had no other choice. The only thing on him that had anything to do with the power of hope was the Imperial Jade Seal. Although the true Brahma Buddha fire will also had something to do with the power of hope, it only consumed the power of hope. Moreover, its grade was still too low. Ning Cheng grabbed the Imperial Jade Seal and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Only in this way could he refine the Imperial Jade Seal faster. Even if the Imperial Jade Seal had something to do with the power of hope, he could not refine it. Initially, Ning Cheng could not refine the Imperial Jade Seal no matter how hard he tried. However, the progress of the refining made Ning Cheng instantly disappointed. Perhaps the golden hand had already shattered his starry sky sea of consciousness, and the Imperial Jade Seal in his hand had not managed to refine the first layer of restrictions. The more anxious Ning Cheng was, the more he reminded himself to remain calm. As he continued to burn his celestial essence, the refining speed of the Imperial Jade Seal grew faster and faster. Catcha! A slight sound emerged, causing Ning Cheng to feel happy in his heart. He had finally managed to refine the first layer of restriction on the Imperial Jade Seal. A primal chaos vague space appeared within Ning Cheng's spiritual sense. Ning Cheng was just about to communicate with the Imperial Jade Seal to deal with the golden giant hand of the power of hope in his sea of consciousness, when the Imperial Jade Seal suddenly disappeared from his hands, and the next moment the Imperial Jade Seal fell into his sea of consciousness. Magic treasures that could enter one's sea of consciousness on their own were not simple. Magic treasures that could enter one's sea of consciousness and still function were even more extraordinary. However, at this time Ning Cheng did not have the time to be surprised about what kind of treasure the Imperial Jade Seal was, because the Imperial Jade Seal had already begun to crazily absorb the golden hand of hope that was attacking his sea of consciousness. When the golden hand of willpower was sucked in by the Imperial Jade Seal, it immediately became sluggish. But soon, more willpower poured in and the hand of willpower moved forward again. Ning Cheng still felt ecstatic in his heart. In any case, at least he found a treasure that could contain the golden hand. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind, and that was to refine the Imperial Jade Seal like crazy. The Imperial Jade Seal suspended in Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness, under the influence of the power of hope, started to refine Ning Cheng even faster. This time, Ning Cheng only used half the time before refining the second layer of restriction on the Imperial Jade Seal. After Ning Cheng refined the second layer of restriction, the speed at which the Imperial Jade Seal absorbed the power of hope grew even faster. As a result, the golden hand in Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness slowed down even more. The third layer of restriction, the fourth layer of restriction, when Ning Cheng refined the 16th layer of restriction, the golden hand of willpower in his sea of consciousness completely disappeared. At this moment, the Imperial Jade Seal also completely absorbed the power of hope that invaded his sea of consciousness. It was truly a good treasure. Ning Cheng, who felt the pressure on him greatly reduced, suddenly stood up. Under his control, the Imperial Jade Seal turned into a huge square seal with a radius of several dozen feet, suspended over the mysterious yellow temple. While Ning Cheng refined it, it also crazily absorbed the power of hope from the temple. Hundreds of miles around the sacred Light Mountain range, at this moment, started to rapidly fade, from yellow to gray, from gray to black. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the yellow color completely dissipated, and the black color spread to the outside of the sacred Light Mountain range's mysterious yellow temple. The Imperial Jade Seal gave out a buzzing sound, as if narrating a kind of carefree feeling. At this moment, a loud explosion erupted over the sacred Light Mountain range. The Imperial Jade Seal, which was still crazily absorbing the power of hope, suddenly paused, and Ning Cheng instantly felt that the Imperial Jade Seal had stopped absorbing the power of hope. Just when Ning Cheng felt puzzled, a cold voice arrived, "I will come back to take away the mysterious yellow bead. An ant like you doesn't deserve such a treasure, Pa." The Imperial Jade Seal once again fell into Ning Cheng's hands, and all the pressure around him disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng opened his eyes and saw the same shrine in front of him, with the same clay statue inside the shrine. It seemed that nothing had changed, but Ning Cheng felt that everything had changed. He was dripping with water, completely soaked in sweat, and there was a salty taste of blood at the corner of his mouth, which seemed to indicate that he had done something before. The broken leg bone had not fully healed, proving that his leg bone was broken and had not been knocked down. Ning Cheng looked at the Imperial Jade Seal in his hand. The Imperial Jade Seal seemed to have gained a little more vitality, and the bird he could not recognize seemed to have gained a little more intelligence. As his spiritual consciousness seeped into it, a majestic and boundless power surged through it. This power contained a kind of prayer and an indescribable whisper. Was this the power of hope? Ning Cheng had previously known about the power of hope and could use the power of hope, but he had never been able to capture the power of hope. Today, he finally saw it in the Imperial Jade Seal. Although he still did not understand the nature of the power of hope, he no longer did not understand it at all. But in any case, Ning Cheng understood that this Imperial Jade Seal was not simple. His starry sky will had 108 layers of restrictions, and this Imperial Jade Seal also had 108 layers of restrictions. Even if he had refined the 21st layer of restrictions, he still did not know the original name of this Imperial Jade Seal. Putting away the Imperial Jade Seal, Ning Cheng felt slightly relieved. The only gain from entering the mysterious Yellow Temple was that the Imperial Jade Seal had absorbed a lot of power of hope. But because of this, he had almost died here. Ning Qing clearly remembered the voice of the person who left. It was a kind of disdain and contempt for him. That person's tone implied that this matter was not over, and that that person would come back to take the mysterious yellow bead. Maybe it was a coincidence that the mysterious Yellow Temple and the mysterious yellow bead both had the words mysterious yellow in them. Maybe it was not a coincidence, but this mysterious Yellow Temple had something to do with the mysterious yellow bead. Whether it was a coincidence or not, Ning Cheng's desire for the wood origin bead grew even stronger. In any case, only when he obtained the wood origin bead would the mysterious yellow bead completely belong to him. Even if others tried to snatch it, he could leave a trace of his life essence in the mysterious yellow bead to escape. The wood origin bead was the thing he wanted the most right now. If there was any news about the wood origin bead, even if all 3 keys to the Temple of Time were in his hands, Ning Cheng would not hesitate to postpone it. Sweeping through the mysterious Yellow Temple with his spiritual consciousness, Ning Cheng determined that there was nothing else here before walking out of the temple. As soon as he stepped out of the temple, Ning Cheng saw black everywhere. The originally yellow land had turned completely black. Ning Cheng guessed that it had something to do with him absorbing the power of hope and the disappearance of the mysterious voice. Not in the mood to stay here any longer, he directly brought out the starry sky wheel and left in a flash. In the mysterious yellow starland, he had one more thing to do, and that was to find Tian Muan. Only by finding Tian Muan could he find the blue-robed female cultivator and take back the perpetual moon time key. The Temple of Time definitely had a lot of good things. Whether he went there or not, it was always a good thing to keep the perpetual moon time key with him. Ning Cheng also knew that even if his starry sky wheel was fast, it wouldn't be possible to search through the vast and boundless mysterious yellow starland in a short time. In fact, he couldn't even search the entire mysterious yellow starland in a year or 2. Moreover, once Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator changed their appearance, it would become even more difficult to find them. However, Ning Cheng didn't plan to look for them in the mysterious yellow starland for a year or 2. As long as he couldn't find them in a month, he would immediately leave the mysterious yellow starland. The Temple of Time was precious, but his time was equally precious. At this time, 2 middle-aged women stopped at the periphery of a forest with no end in sight. These 2 people were Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator, whom Ning Cheng was looking for. "Big sister, do you think the information we got is false? If the 1,000-mound forest really has sifting fairy grass, why would it wait for us to dig it up?" Tian Muan looked at the gloomy forest and felt a little scared. The blue-robed female cultivator sighed. "It's not that the 1,000-mound forest doesn't have sifting fairy grass, but can we find the sifting fairy grass? Or can we dig it up if we find it? Muan, you can wait for me in the makeshift market outside. I'll go in alone. The 1,000-mound forest has the most powerful starry sky demonic beasts. Once we meet them, none of us would be able to escape." Tian Muan shook her head. "Big sister, I want to be with you. I have no relatives here, only big sister. If big sister is gone, it would be the same even if I die or live alone." After saying that, Tian Muan sighed. "Are you still thinking about that surnamed Ning? If I had known this, I wouldn't have taken his things." The blue-robed female cultivator smiled. Tian Muan remained silent for a moment before holding the pearl hair clip on her chest again and speaking with a faint voice. "Big sister, I have a feeling that when I met him last time, although he looked calm on the surface, his heart couldn't calm down towards me. But when I met him in Moi City this time, his heart seemed to have calmed down a lot. Maybe, he has already forgotten about me. I think we've already brushed past each other." Chapter 690. This was already the 9th day of Ning Cheng's search. Not to mention finding any traces of Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator, he had not even heard the slightest bit of news about them. Ning Cheng knew that there was no point in continuing to search like this unless his spiritual consciousness could cover the entire mysterious yellow starland. Otherwise, even if he searched for another 90 days, it would be useless. He couldn't continue searching aimlessly like this. He had to stop and think of an entry point. Since Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator wanted to hide, then there were only two possibilities. One was that they had left the mysterious yellow starland. However, Ning Qing didn't think it was possible. After helping the blue-robed female cultivator, he immediately went to the outside of the mysterious yellow starland and didn't find the two of them leaving. Since they didn't leave the mysterious yellow starry sky immediately, it meant that they wouldn't leave after that. With the blue-robed female cultivator's cultivation and experience, she should have realized that if she left the mysterious yellow starland, someone would most likely block the exit. Even if the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan wanted to leave the mysterious yellow starland, she would have to wait until her cultivation recovered. Since the blue-robed female cultivator's Zifu was damaged, if she wanted to restore her cultivation, then the only way was to find the sifting fairy grass. Previously, when the blue-robed female cultivator's cultivation was still formidable, she had almost been plotted against when she wanted to exchange for the sifting fairy grass. Now that the blue-robed female cultivator's injuries had worsened, her cultivation would definitely fall. As such, it was impossible for her to openly search for the sifting fairy grass. Since she could not openly search for the sifting fairy grass, she could only search for it herself. After Ning Qing sorted out the whole thing, he came to the only conclusion that the blue-robed female cultivator would definitely look for the sifting fairy grass on her own. If he wanted to find the blue-robed female cultivator, there was only one way, and that was to ask the mysterious yellow starland where he could find the sifting fairy grass. As Ning Qing thought of this, he felt slightly relieved in his heart. He should have asked where the sifting fairy grass grew, but it wasn't too late to do so now. Even if the blue-robed female cultivator knew where to find the sifting fairy grass, it would be impossible for her to find it. If the sifting fairy grass could be found so easily, it would not have been a top-grade starry sky spiritual grass. That blue-robed female cultivator would not have come to the Shui clan for a transaction. Ning Qing was just about to bring out the starry sky wheel when he suddenly thought of something else. His heart immediately jumped and he immediately cried out in alarm. Since he could think of the blue-robed female cultivator looking for the sifting fairy grass, how could those old fogies besieging the blue-robed female cultivator not think of it? By the time Ning Qing found the 1,000-mound makeshift market, it was already a day later. He asked many places and found out that the sifting fairy grass had once appeared in the 1,000-mound market. He also heard that the sifting fairy grass in the 1,000-mound market came from the 1,000-mound forest. The 1,000-mound rest house was the largest rest house in 1,000-mound city. After Ning Qing arrived at the 1,000-mound makeshift market, the first place he looked for was the 1,000-mound rest stop. Without waiting for the shop assistant to come over, Ning Qing took the initiative to walk over, took out 1,000 purple coins, handed it to the shop assistant and asked, "I heard that the 1,000-mound forest has a lot of top-grade starry sky spirit grasses, so I came here from afar to have a look. May I ask, is there such a thing?" The shop assistant, on seeing Ning Qing's generosity, put away the purple coins with a wave of his hand. "Friend, you really came to the right place. I'm not talking nonsense. In the entire mysterious yellow starland, the 1,000-mound forest is definitely one of the most precious starry sky spiritual grasses." Ning Qing, however, was not in the mood to slowly fish for information and directly asked, "I heard people say that this place also has the sifting fairy grass. Is there such a thing?" "Of course." The shop assistant spoke without hesitation. "Not only does this place have the sifting fairy grass, but it has also been dug up and sold in the 1,000-mound city." After saying that, the shop assistant seemed to remember something and added, "By the way, a few days ago, someone came here to inquire about the sifting fairy grass." "Who were the people who inquired about the sifting fairy grass?" Ning Cheng's heart moved and quickly asked. "Two middle-aged women, but they were just casually inquiring about it." The shop assistant felt something wrong and swallowed the rest of the words. Ning Qing did not hesitate to take out another 10,000 purple coins and handed it over. "What else?" The shop assistant looked around and found that no one was paying attention to him. He simply said, 3 days ago, someone also came here to inquire about the sifting fairy grass. Before the shop assistant could finish his words, he found that Ning Cheng had already left. He quickly put away the purple coins and went to greet the other guests as if nothing had happened. He was not a fool. 3 groups of people came here because of the sifting fairy grass, which meant that there must be a problem. This kind of thing had nothing to do with him. Ning Cheng felt a little anxious and quickly bought a few jade strips about the 1,000-mound forest. Without thinking about anything else, he rushed towards the 1,000-mound forest. He wasn't sure if it was the blue-robed female cultivator who first inquired about the sifting fairy grass. But he was sure that the people who came here 3 days ago to inquire about the sifting fairy grass were chasing after Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator. No matter what happened between him and Tian Muan due to the misunderstanding, he did not want Tian Muan to suffer any harm, let alone in this foreign land. In the depths of the 1,000-mound forest, Tian Muan, with disheveled hair, supported the blue-robed female cultivator as they hid in a hollow. The blue-robed female cultivator's aura grew more and more chaotic, while Tian Muan's aura similarly grew unstable. The blue-robed female cultivator sighed, "Oh, I didn't expect that I would be helpless in such a small place. No wonder my father said that my cultivation foundation is too shallow. Big sister, let's go out first. As for the sifting fairy grass, we can slowly think of a way. In our current situation, even if we find the location of the sifting fairy grass, we won't be able to take it away." Tian Muan spoke with some worry. After experiencing these past few days, she was no longer a city girl who didn't understand anything. She also knew that high-grade starry sky spirit grasses were usually the territories of top-grade starry sky demonic beasts. From this, one could imagine that the 1,000-mound forest also contained the sifting fairy grass in the depths of the forest. With their current strength, even if they encountered the sifting fairy grass, what could they do? The blue-robed female cultivator seemed to know Tian Muan's thoughts. She looked at Tian Muan and smiled, "Muan, you don't have to worry. I still have some cards up my sleeves. As long as we can find the sifting fairy grass, it doesn't matter how powerful the starry sky demonic beasts are. But right now, we can't go out at all." "Why?" Tian Muan asked in doubt. The blue-robed female cultivator shook her head, "You don't stay in the true cultivation world, so you don't understand the cunning of these people. I'm sure that those bastards who want my things already know that I came to the 1,000-mound forest." On hearing the blue-robed female cultivator's words, Tian Muan instantly understood. Since they had heard that the sifting fairy grass only appeared in the 1,000-mound forest in the mysterious Yellow Starland, then others would definitely guess that they were in the 1,000-mound forest. "I have no choice but to come here. As long as I can find the sifting fairy grass, those people coming to the 1,000-mound forest would only be throwing away their lives." The blue-robed female cultivator's words suddenly stopped, and her face turned ugly to look at. Then a sneer arrived, "You're right. Unfortunately, you haven't found the sifting fairy grass yet." The next moment, 4 figures landed in front of Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator. Tian Muan's face also turned pale. She had seen 2 of these 4 people before. They were the ones who besieged the 2 of them in Shui clan. According to her big sister, they were all eternal powerhouses in this place. An eternal realm expert, for her, was an unreachable legendary height. If it weren't for her big sister, these people could crush her, a cultivator who hadn't even reached the celestial Shatterer realm, with just a finger. The blue-robed female cultivator calmed down by this time. She looked at the few eternal cultivators in front of her and spoke, "If I die here today, my father will come looking for me tomorrow. I can tell you that I might be able to continue living, but you won't even have a shred of remnant souls left." "Ha!" A tall man laughed, "I, Zhu Zhengfeng, am not afraid of other people's threats. Let's talk about tomorrow's matters tomorrow. Since someone took away our Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's Starry Sky spiritual vein, I can let you go, but you have to hand over your ring first." The blue-robed female cultivator shook her head, "I only have 1 ring, and there are 4 of you here. Who should I give it to? You want to provoke the 4 of us?" you're still too naive. Ah. Zhu Jingfeng had just spoken those words with a sneer when he suddenly screamed. The next moment, his entire body turned into a faint shadow and screamed, "Ingdaoqi, I won't let you go." By the time he spoke the last word, his figure had already disappeared without a trace. Almost at the same time that Zhu Jingfeng let out a blood-curdling scream, the other old man also let out a blood-curdling scream. However, he didn't have the same luck as Zhu Jingfeng. Just as he screamed, a flame wrapped around him. Of the 4 eternal cultivators, only 2 remained in the blink of an eye. One was a blue-robed Confucian scholar, and the other was a robust man. The blue-robed Confucian scholar cupped his fists towards the blue-robed female cultivator and spoke with a smile, "You see, your provocation succeeded. Only 2 of the 4 of us remain. By the way, let me introduce myself. My name is Ingdaoqi. I was the one who established the mysterious Yellow Starland's Scattered People Union. This is Tai Shen. You should know about Moi City's Tai clan. Tai Shen is one of the 2 eternal powerhouses of the Tai clan. I think you should know what to do now, right?" While speaking, Ingdaoqi's blue robes fluttered without any wind, and a powerful imposing aura formed a whirlwind that pressed down on the blue-robed female cultivator. Although this imposing aura wasn't directed at Tian Muan still couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood and collapse to the ground. The blue-robed female cultivator still had her foundation intact. Although blood spilled from the corners of her mouth, she still smiled and spoke, "Okay, I'll give it to you." After saying that, her hand fell on the ring. Despite the blue-robed female cultivator's severe injuries and the suppression of her cultivation to the point that it was almost non-existent, Ingdaoqi and Tai Shen still focused all their attention on the blue-robed female cultivator. After all, this blue-robed female cultivator was just too terrifying. She had killed 2 eternal powerhouses before. "Take it." The blue-robed female cultivator gently loosened her hand, and the violent imposing aura around her disappeared in an instant. Then, a faint glimmer of light emerged from the blue-robed female cultivator's hand. Not good. Ingdaoqi and Tai Shen's expressions changed and immediately tried to retreat. But at this moment, the faint glimmer infected the entire space, turning it completely purple. A terrifying temperature raged in the space, wrapping Ingdaoqi and Tai Shen in the middle. Chapter 691. In just 2 breaths of time, Ingdaoqi and Tai Shen's clothes turned into nothingness. Their muscles melted and disappeared, and then their bones began to crackle. The terrifying temperature of the purple space was actually burning from the outside to the inside. Even if the 2 of them were in the eternal realm, they couldn't delay it for even a breath of time. Ingdaoqi let out a shrill scream. He raised his hand and took out an escape talisman. In just a breath of time, the escape talisman turned into a ball of white light that swept up Ingdaoqi, who was only left with a skeleton, and disappeared without a trace. Shadow Daoqi's skeleton escaped, but Tai Shen wasn't so lucky. A few breaths after Ingdaoqi left, he was turned into nothingness. There were many cultivators training outside the Thousand Mound Forest. However, after entering the Thousand Mound Forest for 150,000 kilometers, the number of cultivators there dwindled. Ning Cheng had already ventured nearly 1,000,000 miles into the depths of the Thousand Mound Forest. He knew that even if Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator were in the Thousand Mound Forest, it would not be easy for him to find them. The Thousand Mound Forest covered a radius of hundreds of millions of miles. But because there were too many natural array formations and top-grade demonic beasts, even Ning Cheng's starry sky sea of consciousness couldn't cover a large area. Boom boom. A burst of celestial essence explosions alarmed Ning Cheng, who was still looking for people in the Thousand Mound Forest. It was already the 3rd day since Ning Cheng started his search in the Thousand Mound Forest. This level of celestial essence fluctuation indicated that it was at least created by a powerhouse in the life and death realm or above. Ning Cheng did not think much about it, and immediately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to escape. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng finally stopped. A tall male cultivator and a demonic cultivator were currently fighting. The male cultivator had the cultivation of eternal realm. Ning Cheng's gaze swept over him and immediately understood that this cultivator had sustained heavy injuries. The demonic cultivator was also a starry sky grade 9 cultivator with a leopard's head and a human body. He exuded a tyrannical power from head to toe. From the messy ground around them, it could be seen that the man and the demon had been fighting for a long time. Bao Shi, you and I have minded our own business. You've been fighting me for a day and a night, and you're still being unreasonable, the man said hatefully. The leopard-headed monstrous cultivator grinned. Zhu Jingfeng, when I went to Moi City and asked you for a pot of none to depend on, what did you say? He called me an animal and told me to get lost. I was going to settle the score with you after a while, but now that you've walked right into my trap, do you think I'll let you go? Is it Zhu Jingfeng? Ning Qing immediately understood. He also knew about this person. The leader of the Interdependence Chamber of Commerce was the one who stole the Interdependence wine from the Mo family. Since this person appeared here, he most likely wanted to hunt down the blue-robed female cultivator. Who is it? Ning Cheng's mood fluctuated slightly, which was immediately perceived by Bao Shi. Ning Cheng didn't answer at all. Instead, he directly brought out a Dao artifact long spear and shot it out. As soon as Ning Cheng's long spear shot out, Bao Shi and Zhu Jingfeng simultaneously felt a majestic imposing aura pressing down on them, as a sharp murderous intent instantly wrapped around Zhu Jingfeng. Such a strong killing intent, yet Zhu Jingfeng was still unable to grasp where the spear intent was. Bao Shi immediately understood that this person was helping him sneak attack Zhu Jingfeng. No matter what the other party's intentions were, Bao Shi would definitely not miss this perfect opportunity. At the same time, a huge claw shadow blasted over. Zhu Jingfeng had already suffered serious injuries from Ying Daoqi's sneak attack, while Bao Shi, who was on the same level as him, had also fought with him for a day and a night. At this time, when Ning Cheng launched a sneak attack, he unexpectedly could not find the source of Ning Cheng's killing intent. At this time, Bao Shi's giant claw once again blasted over. By the time Zhu Jingfeng brought out a weapon to block Bao Shi's giant claw, Ning Cheng's spear's shadow had already broken through his domain. It was not until this moment that Zhu Jingfeng discovered where Ning Cheng's spear's shadow's killing intent was. This spear was invisible and had already reached his heart. Poof! Ning Cheng's Dao artifact long spear tore through Zhu Jingfeng's body like a cotton cloth. As the killing intent of the spear twisted, Zhu Jingfeng screamed out in pain. His meridians ruptured inch by inch, and even his life essence started to feel a sharp pain. Zhu Jingfeng's life essence had just overflowed when Bao Shi reached out and grabbed it. With a flash of demonic fire, Zhu Jingfeng's screams came out. Ning Qing didn't care about Zhu Jingfeng's life essence at all and directly grabbed Zhu Jingfeng's ring. Almost at the same time that Bao Shi destroyed Zhu Jingfeng's life essence, Ning Cheng also grabbed Zhu Jingfeng's ring. Young man, your courage is not small. You even dared to snatch something from my hands. Bao Shi loosened his grip, and Zhu Jingfeng's lifeless corpse fell to the ground. Ning Cheng put Zhu Jingfeng's ring on his finger and spoke in a calm voice. Why do I remember that this ring belonged to Zhu Jingfeng? Oh, is Zhu Jingfeng your avatar? Bao Shi laughed in anger. Then let me see how much confidence you have. With a wave of his hand, a huge claw shadow descended. When the claw shadow came out, it looked exactly the same as when Ning Cheng had seen Bao Shi grabbing towards Zhu Jingfeng. However, when the claw shadow reached Ning Cheng's head, it had already turned into a boundless sky. Although this claw shadow fell from the sky, at this moment, the entire ground trembled. Ning Cheng's domain gave off a ka-ka sound, just like a spider's web splitting apart. As the violent imposing aura pressed down on him, Ning Cheng felt that even breathing had become difficult. At this moment, the Dao artifact long spear in his hand felt as heavy as 1,000 caddies. Even moving it up a little bit was extremely difficult. Ning Cheng felt shocked in his heart. He had once killed a cultivator who had just entered the life and death realm. Coupled with his recent rapid progress in cultivation, although he knew that he couldn't compare to an eternal-level powerhouse, he didn't think that the difference would be too big. Now he finally understood that there was still a gap between him and an eternal-level powerhouse. Moreover, this gap was not small. If Zhu Zhenfeng hadn't been seriously injured and Bao Shi hadn't suppressed him, he might not have been able to sneak attack him. Ning Qing knew that he couldn't retreat at this time. He crazily stimulated his celestial essence and brought out the Dao artifact long spear. In the next moment, his long spear turned into a giant pillar that reached the sky and met the terrifying claw shadow that was crashing down with a loud bang. Boom! The claw shadow slammed into Ning Cheng's long spear, and a powerful backlash erupted, causing Ning Cheng's bones to make ka-ka sounds. Boom boom. The claw shadow continued to press down, as if the sky itself was constantly pressing down. The Dao artifact long spear, like Ning Cheng, gave off a ka-cha sound under the suppression. The ground under Ning Cheng's feet began to crack and slowly spread out. At this moment, Ning Cheng's legs started to tremble. He found that his strategy had gone wrong. He shouldn't have fought against this Bao Shi using celestial essence. At this time, Ning Qing did not hesitate to shoot out dozens of spiritual consciousness blades. He wanted to blow away Bao Shi's terrifying claw shadow first. Almost at the same time as Ning Qing shot out dozens of spiritual consciousness blades, Bao Shi's giant claw unexpectedly lifted up. Ning Qing had just relaxed a little when the giant claw once again pressed down. This time, its imposing aura was more than twice as strong as before. Damn it! Ning Qing cursed in his heart. This demonic cultivator was truly cunning. Cha-cha. A sound similar to a knife cutting through cotton rang out in Ning Cheng's ears. However, Ning Cheng's expressions immediately turned ugly. His spiritual consciousness blades couldn't penetrate Bao Shi's sea of consciousness at all. It only managed to slow down Bao Shi's giant claw shadow. Catcha! Even so, Ning Cheng's Dao artifact long spear broke under the suppression. The moment the claw shadow created by the spiritual consciousness blades slowed down, Ning Cheng retreated a few hundred feet and landed outside of Bao Shi's giant claw. Bao Shi's dark face turned red. Although he had the absolute upper hand in the clash with Ning Cheng, he couldn't do anything to Ning Cheng. If I didn't guess wrong, your cultivation should not have reached the life and death realm. A cultivator who hasn't even reached the life and death realm turned out to be so powerful. Moreover, you even have a spiritual consciousness cultivation method. It's worth it for me to make a move. Bao Shi took a step forward, and the few hundred feet of distance between him and Ning Qing turned into nothingness with just one step. Ning Qing stretched out his hand and grabbed the imperial jade seal. Facing Bao Shi with such powerful celestial essence and spiritual consciousness, Ning Qing wasn't sure if his sunset's twilight could succeed. However, the imperial jade seal was filled with the power of hope, and he had already refined a part of it. Therefore, he could use it to bombard Bao Shi. Despite preparing his means, Ning Qing did not take the initiative to attack. Instead, he calmly looked at Bao Shi and said, "Brother Bao, if I were you, I wouldn't make a move." Bao Shi laughed again, "Whatever means you have, just show it." "I, Bao Shi, would like to see it." Ning Qing spoke up in a calm voice, "Brother Bao, I'm not your opponent right now, but it's impossible for you to kill me. I can walk away at any time. If you don't believe me, you can try it." Bao Shi froze for a moment before frowning. If Ning Qing walked away, then even if he won, he wouldn't get the ring. Ning Qing on seeing Bao Shi frown spoke up in an even more unhurried tone, "Brother Bao, are you still thinking about the ring? In my opinion, you'd better think about yourself first. Are you threatening me?" Bao Shi raised his eyebrows, and his killing intent spread out. Ning Qing didn't fear Bao Shi at all. "Regardless of whether I'm threatening you or not, I just want to say that you guessed it right. I'm only in the heaven-seated realm. You can think about it, I'm not afraid of you in the heaven-seated realm. But if you offend me today and I advance to the eternal realm in the future, do you think I'll let you go? Even if you walk away, you still have your disciples and grand disciples here, right?" My hands aren't soft. Bao Shi's heart skipped a beat. This was what he feared the most. Ning Cheng's words weren't wrong at all. If he pushed this person too hard, then this person would just walk away. Not only would he not get anything, but he would also end up making a strong enemy in the future. If it were an ordinary cultivator, then he, Bao Shi, wouldn't fear it at all. But this fellow, just in the heaven-seated realm, was already so difficult to deal with. If he really advanced to the eternal realm in the future, then, Ning Cheng, seeing Bao Shi being intimidated, spoke up, "Brother Bao, it's not that I can't leave, but I need your help with something." Of course, if Brother Bao has something to say, I won't refuse it. If I can help Brother Bao, I won't refuse. Bao Shi hesitated for a while before taking in a deep breath and speaking, "I just want a pot of real none-to-depend-on wine. Zhu Jingfeng has it in his ring." Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. Brother Bao should have said it earlier. Not to mention a pot, even 2 pots wouldn't matter. Chapter 692. Bao Shi still regretted it in his heart. If he hadn't been in a hurry to kill Zhu Jingfeng and had instead snatched the ring, it would have ended up in his hands by now. Zhu Jingfeng's ring definitely wasn't simple, but it was a pity. While Bao Shi was still regretting, Ning Cheng had already opened Zhu Jingfeng's ring and took out 2 pots of none-to-depend-on wine. Seeing Ning Cheng open Zhu Jingfeng's ring at an extremely fast speed and take out 2 pots of wine for himself, Bao Shi felt even more fearful. Even if an eternal-level cultivator fell, it would not be easy to open the restrictions on his ring. Ning Cheng easily opened Zhu Jingfeng's ring, which showed that Ning Cheng was a top-grade array formation master. Bao Shi, who wanted to make friends with Ning Cheng, put away the 2 pots of none-to-depend-on wine and took the initiative to speak to Ning Cheng. "I don't know what this friend needs my help with." Ning Cheng was still marveling at Zhu Jingfeng's wealth. But when he heard Bao Shi's words, he quickly put aside the ring and spoke with a smile, "Brother Bao, I have 2 friends who entered the Thousand-Mound Forest. Zhu Jingfeng should be chasing after my 2 friends. Since Brother Bao is the landlord here, I want to ask Brother Bao about their location." Bao Shi hesitated for a moment before taking out a jade strip and handing it to Ning Cheng. Bao Shi, we'll make friends with you. The Thousand-Mound Forest covers a radius of hundreds of millions of miles. My territory is only this area, but I got news that a day ago, there was a large fluctuation of essence qi in the southeast. Maybe you can go and have a look. I've already marked the specific location on the jade strip. Ning Cheng took the jade strip and cupped his fists. "Many thanks, Brother Bao. My name is Ning Cheng, and I'll also make friends with Brother Bao. I'll go look for my friends first. If I have time in the future, I'll definitely visit Brother Bao." Talking to a demonic cultivator felt refreshing and didn't need to beat around the bush. If Duan Gantai had said that he wanted to make friends with Ning Cheng would have definitely thought that Duan Gantai wanted to scheme against him. However, Ning Cheng didn't doubt Bao Shi's words. He and Bao Shi had no conflict of interest. Since Bao Shi said that he wanted to make friends with him, it meant that he recognized him. Before Ning Cheng left, he suddenly remembered something. "Brother Bao, I also want to inquire about the Thousand-Mound Forest. Where can I find sifting fairy grass?" "You want sifting fairy grass?" Bao Shi's eyes flashed with surprise. Ning Cheng nodded. "A friend of mine needs it, so I just wanted to ask." Bao Shi remained silent for a moment before speaking. "There is indeed the sifting fairy grass in the Thousand-Mound Forest, but as far as I know, with Brother Ning's current cultivation, you would not be able to get close to this place." This place was called the Altar of Forefathers Library, the most mysterious place in the Thousand-Mound Forest. Even I dare not approach the surroundings of the Altar of Forefathers Library. In the jade strip map I gave you, there is the location of the Altar of Forefathers Library. If not necessary, I suggest that Brother Ning not go to the Altar of Forefathers Library for now. Altar of Forefathers Library? Ning Cheng had some doubts in his heart. He had purchased several jade strips in the Thousand-Mound makeshift market, but none of them mentioned the Altar of Forefathers Library. In any case, many thanks Brother Bao. Ning Qing once again thanked Bao Shi, before he turned around and left. The 1,000-mound forest jade strip given by Bao Shi was many times more detailed than the map of the 1,000-mound forest that Ning Qing had purchased. In addition to the place that Bao Shi circled on the jade strip, there was indeed an altar of forefathers' library. Although Ning Cheng's twin wings of the heavenly clouds had not yet evolved, in a place like the 1,000-mound forest, as long as he had a specific direction, the speed of the twin wings of the heavenly clouds could not be intercepted by ordinary demonic beasts. In just an hour, Ning Qing found the location that Bao Shi had circled. It was a mess, but Ning Qing did not see Tian Muan or the blue-robed female cultivator. However, he knew that a battle must have taken place here. Moreover, it was the most terrifying fire-attributed battle. This place had been burned to nothingness by the flames, and even the ground had a huge pit. Ning Qing walked into the place that had been burned by the flames and immediately noticed something different. There was a trace that extended away from the crater, and the line that left the crater was slightly less scorched. This kind of burning should have started only after someone had left. Ning Qing followed this trace and quickly caught the aura of essence chi fluctuations. Someone had indeed escaped from this place. Just an hour later, Ning Qing stopped again, and a huge celestial essence fluctuation once again passed through. Ning Qing immediately sped up, and after half an incense stick worth of time, his spiritual consciousness could clearly see what was happening. A skeleton and a male cultivator were besieging a pale-faced demonic youth. Ning Qing did not know the skeleton, but Ning Qing was very familiar with the male cultivator. He was more than 2 feet tall and had blonde hair and a horse-like face. He was Shui Guangxi, an expert from the Shui clan who had recently advanced to the Eternal Realm. Not far from where the 3 people were fighting, a faint circle of light flickered. 2 female cultivators lay inside the circle of light, and Ning Qing recognized them at a glance. They were Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator. The 2 of them should have changed their appearance, but the masks had long since disappeared. Moreover, both of them were unconscious. The celestial essence fluctuations from the fight between the 3 cultivators kept bombarding the faint circle of light. However, the circle of light seemed to be very tough and did not break. Ning Qing instantly understood that the blue-robed female cultivator had arranged this circle of light. Most likely, these 3 people were fighting for the things on the blue-robed female cultivator's body. Although the blue-robed female cultivator arranged this defensive circle of light, it could only protect them for a while. Once the 3 of them fought, the circle of light would not be able to stop them. The fight between the 3 people was extremely fierce, and the demonic beasts in the surroundings had already fled in fear. As for the trees in the forest, they were completely destroyed. A huge ravine appeared between the 3 people, and powerful celestial essence explosions continued to erupt. One could imagine that if not for the faint circle of light protecting Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator, they would have already turned into slag under the shockwaves of this fight. Ning Qing hid to the side and tried to converge his aura as much as possible. He couldn't beat any of these 3 people, and he did not have a better way to deal with them. If the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan did not have the protection of the circle of light, he could have secretly taken them away. But now, as soon as he came out and attacked the circle of light, he would immediately be discovered. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, just as Ning Qing was thinking about how to open the circle of light to save Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator, a few rays of celestial essence swept over the circle of light, and the circle of light cracked open without any warning. Ning Qing felt happy in his heart. These few rays of celestial essence came from the pale-faced demonic youth, and since they hit the circle of light, it could be considered as a mistake. Even after the circle of light exploded, the fight between the 3 people showed no signs of stopping. From this, Ning Qing understood that these 3 people did not care about the lives of the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan at all. What they wanted was the ring. However, Ning Qing found something wrong. The pale-faced cultivator seemed to have intentionally or unintentionally moved towards Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator. Ning Qing had already done this kind of thing many times, so he immediately understood what the pale-faced demonic youth was planning. The few rays of celestial essence that the demonic youth released just now definitely did not hit the circle of light by accident. Rather, it was intentional. Now that he wanted to snatch the ring, he knew that this situation was similar to what happened between him and Bao Shi. Bao Shi's cultivation was higher than his, but after he obtained the ring, Bao Shi had to compromise with him. Otherwise, he would not get anything. Ning Qing originally planned to calculate the timing of the attack, but after seeing the figure of the pale-faced demonic youth, he no longer cared about anything else. He rushed out in a flash and grabbed Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator with each hand. He then immediately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds and teleported away. Ning Cheng had just grabbed Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator when the pale-faced cultivator arrived. Although he was only 2 breaths slower than Ning Cheng, he still managed to grab nothing. As soon as the pale-faced demonic youth moved, the skeleton and Shui Guangxi understood his plan and immediately brought out their weapons to attack the pale-faced cultivator. While the pale-faced demonic youth resisted the attacks from the skeleton and Shui Guangxi, Ning Cheng had already disappeared without a trace. After Shui Guangxi and the skeleton started fighting, they realized that the 3 of them had fallen into a trap. Not waiting for the pale-faced demonic youth to explain, the skeleton and Shui Guangxi immediately withdrew their attacks and chased after Ning Cheng. The pale-faced demonic youth naturally did not have the mood to talk nonsense with Shui Guangxi and the skeleton and also chased after Ning Cheng. It wasn't that he didn't want to bring out the starry sky wheel, but at this moment, he had already detected the forbidden space array formation. Once the forbidden space array formation appeared, it meant that he was in the depths of the thousand-mound forest. Besides, even if there was no forbidden space array formation, he could not bring out the starry sky wheel. The 3 powerful fellows behind him were like maggots on a tarsal bone, chasing after him. Most likely, he would not even have the chance to drive the starry sky wheel before they caught up to him. Fortunately, the forbidden space array formation helped Ning Cheng. Since Ning Cheng could not use the starry sky wheel, the 3 people behind him also could not use flight-type weapons. Although the twin wings of the heavenly clouds also felt suppressed, the twin wings of the heavenly clouds were different from ordinary flight-type weapons. Although Ning Cheng could not use the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to fly continuously, he could still use the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to increase his speed. The 3 people chased after him while Ning Cheng ran in front. In terms of cultivation, Ning Cheng was slightly weaker than the 3 people. But since he was the one running away, he could choose the direction he wanted to go. With the help of the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, the distance between Ning Cheng and the 3 people behind him slowly began to widen. As the distance continued to widen, Ning Cheng did not dare to relax even for a moment. Once these 3 people caught up with him, he would have no chance to escape from the depths of the thousand-mound forest, which was suppressed by the forbidden space array formation. The 3 people behind him felt as if they had eaten a weight and were determined to catch up to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng had been running for 5 or 6 days in the thousand-mound forest, but these 3 people still did not give up. In the end, Ning Cheng simply ignored the 3 people behind him and kept running. He did not believe that he could not get rid of these 3 dog skin plasters. Ning Cheng did not know how long he had been running for, but when his spiritual consciousness felt suppressed, he finally stopped. As soon as he stopped, Ning Cheng noticed that the 3 people behind him had already disappeared. He breathed a sigh of relief and looked around. In this place, his spiritual consciousness had been suppressed to less than 10 miles, but Ning Cheng did not worry about it. He had seen many places that suppressed spiritual consciousness, so there was nothing to worry about. Chapter 693. There was not the slightest sound in the surroundings. It was dead silent. There were indeed many dangers in the thousand-mound forest, but no matter how many dangers there were, it shouldn't be a deathly stillness. Ning Cheng suddenly felt a bit scared in his heart. As he frowned, he felt that it was a bit outrageous. Even if his spiritual consciousness and cultivation were suppressed, he was still a starry sky cultivator in the heaven-seated realm. With his strength, it would not be difficult for him to destroy an ordinary planet. Why would he have such a feeling? Dong, a sound suddenly resounded in this deathly silent place. It was as if an iron awl had smashed into Ning Cheng's chest, causing Ning Cheng's heart to churn, as if he was about to spit out a mouthful of blood. Such a strange place. Ning Cheng finally understood why those three old fellows did not chase after them. It seems that those three fellows knew that this place was dangerous, and did not dare to continue to follow them. Ning Cheng grabbed Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator and started to retreat. But then he found that he couldn't remember which direction he came from. Ning Cheng quickly took out the positional jade strip that Bao Shi had given him and found a few small characters around the location flashing on the jade strip. It was none other than the Altar of Forefathers Library. The flickering represented his current location, which was around the Altar of Forefathers Library, indicating that this was the Altar of Forefathers Library. He originally planned to go to the Altar of Forefathers Library, but he did not expect to come here by accident. Ning Cheng put away the jade strip. He wanted to withdraw from this place first. Even if he wanted to come here, he had to settle the two patients in his hands first. At this moment, the blue-robed female cultivator in his arms suddenly struggled. Awake? Ning Cheng was just about to speak, when another dong sound arrived. Ning Cheng once again suppressed the churning in his heart. However, the blue-robed female cultivator in his arms couldn't hold back her emotions. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood before fainting once again. So powerful, Ning Cheng no longer dared to stay, and quickly retreated. It was as if he had awakened a sleeping thing, as the thumping sound became more and more intense. Thump thump. Under this kind of terrifying thumping sound, Ning Cheng knew that he would not be able to retreat. It seemed that one could only enter and not leave. Even after wandering around for a long time, he was still in the vicinity of the Altar of Forefathers Library. As long as he looked at the positional jade strip, he would know. Feeling that the blue-robed female cultivator showed signs of waking up, Ning Cheng quickly used his spiritual consciousness to search around. Even if his spiritual consciousness was severely suppressed, Ning Cheng still managed to find a canyon in a hurry. This canyon contained a deep black hole. Ning Cheng did not think about it and directly rushed in. He feared that the blue-robed female cultivator would wake up again and get hurt by the thumping sounds. As soon as he entered the canyon, Ning Cheng immediately threw out the array flags, while continuously arranging some isolation array formations. Thump. A sound once again arrived, but this sound was blocked by Ning Cheng's array formation. When it reached Ning Cheng's ears, it was no longer as shocking as before. The blue-robed female cultivator struggled a bit before speaking up in a weak voice, "Ning Xiaocheng, please put me down. I'm called Ning Cheng now. Wait a bit." Ning Cheng continued to run inside. A few minutes later, he stopped at a relatively wide place and put down the blue-robed female cultivator. After raising his hand and throwing out a few array flags, he arranged a bright light array and a few defensive arrays, before Ning Cheng turned around. The blue-robed female cultivator looked at Ning Cheng in amazement, as if she had seen the most amazing thing in the world. Previously, Ning Cheng had been running away and did not care about it. But now that he saw the blue-robed female cultivator again, he suddenly felt embarrassed. The blue-robed female cultivator, like Tian Muan, had clothes that did not cover her body at all, exposing her chest and waist. Your attainments in array formations are so high. The array formations you arranged in Shui clan. The blue-robed female cultivator did not continue. She knew that she did not need to continue. When Ning Cheng arranged the array formations in Shui clan, he definitely did not show his true level. She naturally knew about Ning Cheng's age. He was around the same age as Tian Muan. For a cultivator, this was a young age that couldn't be any younger. Such a young cultivator not only had a good cultivation, but his attainments in array formations had also reached such a high level. Was he a monster? She was not a rogue cultivator who did not understand anything. She knew that the Tao of array formations was similar to the Tao of alchemy and the Tao of artifacts. If one wanted to have some achievements, one would have to spend a lot of time studying them. Especially the Tao of array formations, one would have to spend a lot of time studying them. The lifespan of a cultivator was indeed much longer than that of an ordinary person. But even if a cultivator had a long lifespan, if they spent all their time studying these things, they would have less time for cultivation. Therefore, cultivators who achieved strong results in cultivation generally could not achieve high results in the Tao of array formations or the Tao of alchemy and the Tao of artifacts, except for a few geniuses among geniuses. Was this Ning Cheng one of those rare geniuses? If that was the case, then Muan truly had a good eye. She subconsciously glanced at Tian Mu Wan. When she saw that Tian Mu Wan's clothes were not covering her body, even the red bean on her chest was exposed, she suddenly screamed, as she covered her chest with her hands, "Ning Cheng, you rogue, quickly turn your head." Ning Cheng, who was about to speak, quickly turned his head. This blue-robed female cultivator's voice was comparable to the dong-dong sound. "Wait. Do you have any clothes? Lend me two." When the blue-robed female cultivator spoke those words, her tone had already eased up. From this, she understood that Ning Cheng could not be blamed for this matter. Not to mention looking at them, she had already been in Ning Cheng's arms for a few days. Ning Cheng threw a ring to the blue-robed female cultivator. "There are some clothes inside, along with some medicinal pills. You can use them first. I'll arrange a few more array formations." An hour later, when Ning Cheng came back in, the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan had already changed their clothes. Tian Muan also woke up. When she saw Ning Cheng come in, she immediately lowered her head. The blue-robed female cultivator took out a white key and handed it to Ning Cheng. "Thank you for saving us twice. I'll return this key to you." Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and realized that this key was the white perpetual moon time key. He didn't hesitate to keep the key. After all, it belonged to him in the first place. "Xiao Cheng, thank you." Tian Muan bit her lip. She didn't understand how Ning Cheng saved them, but she understood that Ning Cheng's strength and secrets were far stronger than she had imagined. "You're welcome. It's just a small matter." Ning Cheng smiled, looking as sunny as ever. Such familiar words, such a familiar smile. Tian Muan looked at Ning Cheng's vaguely familiar sunny smile, and her thoughts had already extended to a distant place. As the mudslide came crashing down, she hid behind a small tree in fright and completely lost her mind. It was that sunny boy who rushed over, picked her up and ran away. He carried her on his back and escaped, but the small tree she had hidden behind had already been submerged under the mudslide. If it weren't for him, then she would have been buried under the mudslide. He carefully put her down and pointed to a place not far away. "Your companion is in front." "Thank you, my name is Tian Muan." "My name is Ning Xiaocheng." "Xiaocheng, thank you." "You're welcome, it's just a small matter." Time passed quickly, and many years later, they still had this conversation. Even after many years, he was still the same person, and she was still the same person. However, there was always something missing in the middle. What was it that was missing? When was it missing? Did she put the pearl hair clip that Ning Cheng gave her in the hands of another man, and that man threw it into the sewer? It's fine if you lost it, but when you have the time, you can buy me another one. Let's go. Tian Muan's face turned even paler. Perhaps when she said those words to another man in front of Ning Cheng, it was missing. No, it should be said that it was lost. If there was no Zheng Jiyun, would they still be like this? Tian Muan shook her head. She knew that even if there was no Zheng Jiyun, she and he would still be like this. In her view, when she and Ning Cheng were together, it seemed that she was taking care of Ning Cheng's face. In fact, she still had a sense of superiority over Ning Cheng in her heart, it was just that she was not aware of it. If not for this, why would she take out a bank card and hand it to Ning Cheng after Ning Cheng disappeared? Why would she think that she and Ning Cheng were not people from the same world? Why would she ask Ning Cheng not to call her Muan, but by her full name? Why would she care about Ning Cheng being alive, but not come back to explain? In fact, did she even give Ning Cheng a chance to explain? Did she not know about Ning Cheng's pride? Did she not know about it? Ning Cheng's first words to her were to ask Ruolan, what was wrong with it? If it really was love, then when she saw Ning Cheng again, she would not care about such things, but be happy that Ning Cheng was still alive. But she did not. She was just a true cultivator at the Qi Gathering 3rd level, yet she thought that she and Ning Cheng were not people from the same world. In fact, at that time, Ning Cheng's cultivation was probably countless times higher than hers. She found the pearl hair clip that she had lost. Although it was still the original pearl hair clip, it was no longer the same white color as before. Muan, are you okay? The blue-robed female cultivator on seeing Tian Muan staring at Ning Cheng in a daze shook Tian Muan with some worry. Tian Muan recovered and bit her lip again, before speaking with a hoarse voice, Big sister, I'm fine. The blue-robed female cultivator nodded and did not continue to ask Tian Muan. She almost knew about the matters between Tian Muan and Ning Cheng, as such it was not appropriate to ask about it at this time. She turned her head and stared at Ning Cheng before asking, Ning Cheng, as far as I know, Earth and this place are not on the same plane. Not to mention you, even I can't come to this place directly from Earth. So how did you get here? Ning Cheng showed a faint smile, it's my own business, you don't have to worry about it. It's just like how you came here, I didn't ask you, did I? Although Ning Cheng's words were not pleasant to listen to, they made sense. Asking about other people's privacy was not a polite thing to do. The blue-robed female cultivator giggled, okay, then I won't pry into your privacy. Let me tell you, the laws here are not complete, and the same cultivation would be much weaker than other planes. If you help this big sister find the sifting fairy grass, then this big sister can take you out of here and go to a real immortal cultivation plane. Chapter 694. What is a complete set of rules? What is an immortal cultivation plane? Ning Cheng looked at the blue-robed female cultivator and asked. Not to mention that the blue-robed female cultivator couldn't even protect herself right now, even if she could take him away, he wouldn't leave. However, Ning Cheng also knew that this blue-robed female cultivator had a much deeper understanding of cultivation compared to him. The blue-robed female cultivator's expression changed, and she put away her smile and said, as far as I know, it's very difficult to reach Tao confirming in this place. Cultivating to the eternal realm is already the limit. If he wanted to transcend eternity, he had to leave this place. I know that this place lacks thunder tribulations in the 3 realms of Celestial Scryer and Celestial River realms. This meant that the laws were incomplete. If the laws were complete, there wouldn't be a lack of lightning tribulations. What's more, I heard that this plane doesn't allow you to ascend. In the cultivation world, if you want to advance further, you have to find the heavenly path and leave the low-level plane. Ning Cheng remained silent. The blue-robed female cultivator was right. From the graceful star mainland to the starry skies, he had experienced the heaven's way. However, unlike other cultivators, Ning Cheng did not experience fewer thunder tribulations when he was in the Celestial River Realm's 3 realms. If I agree to go with you, how will you take me away? Ning Cheng looked at this blue-robed female cultivator and felt that the ring in her hand should be of low quality. Even if this blue-robed female cultivator was equivalent to an eternal-level cultivator, he didn't believe that this blue-robed female cultivator could take him away, unless she also had an opening heaven talisman. The blue-robed female cultivator showed a proud smile, as long as my sea of consciousness is restored, I can take you to countless worlds. Of course, the premise is that you have to enter my world. Don't look at my ring. This ring of mine was forged on the spot. As for leaving this plane, I have my own way. You don't have to worry. Let's talk about leaving this place later. Wait for me here, I'll help you take a look. I'm not sure if I can find the sifting fairy grass. Ning Cheng stood up. Although he wanted to find the sifting fairy grass to help the blue-robed female cultivator, it was not because he had a good impression of the blue-robed female cultivator, nor because he wanted to leave this place. Rather, it was because of Tian Muan. Even if he and Tian Muwan were in the past, he could not ignore Tian Muwan falling in this place. If he didn't take action, then with Tian Muwan and the blue-robed female cultivator's current state, it would be impossible for them to find the sifting fairy grass. If they couldn't find the sifting fairy grass, then only death awaited them. Of course, he wanted the sifting fairy grass as well. The sifting fairy grass could repair damage to one's sea of consciousness. If one day something happened to his sea of consciousness, having the sifting fairy grass would make a difference. Xiao Cheng. Seeing Ning Cheng stand up, Tian Muwan also stood up in worry. Ning Cheng was just about to speak, when another loud boom sound rang out. The several defensive arrays that he had arranged before, under this boom sound, directly shattered. Even if it was just the aftermath, it still sent Tian Muwan and the blue-robed female cultivator flying backwards, causing them to slam into the cave wall and spit out a mouthful of blood. What was that sound? Ning Cheng's complexion turned a bit ugly to look at. If he was alone, then under this kind of sound, he would have been able to barely block it. But now that the blue-robed female cultivator, who had almost completely lost her cultivation, and Tian Muwan, who had a low cultivation, decided to follow him, what should he do? Ning Cheng looked at the blue-robed female cultivator. The blue-robed female cultivator used the stone wall to stand up and wipe the blood from the corner of her mouth. She knew what Ning Cheng meant, and simply shook her head. I don't know what this sound is, but I know that this sound will definitely come again. Forget about the sifting fairy grass, just get out of here. If you can, take us out with you. If not, you can go out by yourself. Tian Muwan, you stay close to me and don't go more than 3 meters away from me. I'll carry senior apprentice Sister Yi on my back. Even if I wanted to get out of here, I wouldn't be able to find the way out. After Ning Cheng finished, he directly brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort. You have a good weapon. Seeing the everlasting blue thunder fort, the blue-robed female cultivator's eyes flashed with surprise and spoke up in admiration. She still had a bit of her spiritual consciousness remaining, which allowed her to immediately sense the extraordinariness of the blue thunder fort. Unfortunately, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was currently suppressed, otherwise, with his current cultivation, his blue thunder fort would have been a lot clearer. Boom! Another dull sound emerged, but Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort managed to block the sound, causing lightning to overflow in all directions. Ning Cheng breathed in a sigh of relief. The everlasting blue thunder fort had managed to block the terrifying boom sound. Hurry up, if you don't want to, just wait for me here. Ning Cheng felt a little impatient. Staying in this cave made him feel a little uneasy. Tian Muwan, on seeing Ning Cheng's urging, quickly helped the blue-robed female cultivator onto Ning Cheng's back. The blue-robed female cultivator did not hesitate. Instead, she showed a smile and spoke, "Thank you, junior apprentice brother Ning Cheng. By the way, why did you call little sister Muwan Tian? Isn't it better to call her Muwan?" A burst of softness and fragrance assaulted his senses, causing Ning Cheng to take in a deep breath. He took out a true artifact rope and quickly secured the blue-robed female cultivator on his back. However, he did not answer the blue-robed female cultivator's question. Tian Muwan gave out a sigh and did not speak. Seeing Tian Muwan and Ning Cheng not speaking, the blue-robed female cultivator also did not continue to ask. Ning Cheng picked up Tian Muwan and was about to rush out. However, he had just rushed out a dozen meters when a roaring sound arrived. Although Tian Muwan's spiritual consciousness could not sweep out, Ning Cheng could clearly see that the canyon had collapsed and was extending towards him. If it were an ordinary canyon, Ning Cheng would have been able to blast it open with a single punch, even if it was under a mountain. However, Ning Cheng knew that he could not blast open this place. Even his spiritual consciousness was bound within a certain range, let alone blasting open this collapsing canyon. When he first came in, this canyon was still in good condition. But now, not long after he came in, this canyon, which had existed for who knows how many years, began to collapse. If someone said that the canyon's collapse had nothing to do with him coming in, Ning Cheng would never believe it. As the canyon in front of him started to collapse, Ning Cheng had no choice but to stop. He was calculating whether he should continue to rush out of this collapsing area or retreat. If he retreated, he might not be able to retreat anymore. The blue-robed female cultivator's soft voice rang out in Ning Cheng's ears, "Hurry up and retreat. You must not rush out." "Why?" Ning Cheng asked subconsciously. The blue-robed female cultivator took in a deep breath and spoke with a solemn voice, "Do you think this is a simple canyon collapse? This collapse is a space-devouring event. If you dare to pass through this collapsing area, you will be swallowed up by space and disappear without a trace." Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air and quickly retreated without hesitation. Even if there was no place to go, he would rather enter the mysterious yellow bead than get swallowed up by space. He did not doubt the blue-robed female cultivator's words. The reason why he could not see space devouring was because he had never seen it before. This place is very strange. This collapse only happened after we came in. There should be something controlling it. The blue-robed female cultivator spoke again. Ning Cheng did not answer and could only keep retreating. Tian Muan didn't say a word. She just held Ning Cheng's waist tightly in his arms and seemed to be immersed in some kind of memory. Ning Cheng initially worried that they would reach the end of this cave soon, but this cave seemed like a bottomless pit. No matter how long Ning Cheng ran, there was still a path in front of him. "We seem to have entered the thousand-mound forests underground." The blue-robed female cultivator spoke again. Ning Cheng also stopped. He also felt that something was wrong. If it was a cave before, then it couldn't even be called a cave now. The cave walls on both sides had disappeared at some point, replaced by a world with a fishy smell. The collapse behind them had also disappeared. Thump. Another sound emerged. This sound seemed to be louder and more threatening than the previous one. A crack appeared on Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort. However, as long as the everlasting blue thunder fort did not break, it would automatically repair itself. The blue-robed female cultivator did not speak again. She felt that Ning Cheng had been running for a long time and seemed to be getting closer and closer to the location of the thump-thump. 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 In the dark space, Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort rumbled under the thump-thump sound. Ning Cheng only hesitated for a moment before choosing a direction and quickly rushing towards it. Although the blue-robed female cultivator had lost her cultivation, she still had some spiritual consciousness. She could feel that the direction Ning Cheng chose was the direction from which the thump-thump sound came from. She didn't say much. At this time, Ning Cheng was in charge. She couldn't let Ning Cheng hesitate. Ning Cheng moved quickly, and as the thump-thump sound grew more and more dull, the pressure on Ning Cheng also increased. The cracks on the everlasting blue thunder fort also increased, while the speed at which it healed also slowed down. Ning Cheng felt extremely anxious. Once his everlasting blue thunder fort's shadow cracked completely, even if he brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort again, he wouldn't be able to protect the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan. A dark red light suddenly appeared in front of Ning Cheng, causing Ning Cheng to pause for a moment, before he sped up and rushed towards the location of this dark red light. As Ning Cheng got closer and closer to the dark red light, he finally got a clear look at it. It was a blood lake, and in the middle of the blood lake was a huge heart with dense meridians covering it. Thump. Another dull thump erupted, and Ning Cheng felt a burst of turbulence. He quickly pushed his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness to stabilize the everlasting blue thunder fort, which was about to crack open. This time, he could clearly see that the thump came from the huge heart beating in the middle of the lake. The Ning Cheng trio looked at each other in dismay. They had never seen such a strange thing before. Such a huge heart existed between heaven and earth. Just a single beat contained such power. Just whose heart did it belong to? That's the sifting fairy grass. The blue-robed female cultivator looked across the lake and spoke with a slightly excited tone. At the same time that the blue-robed female cultivator saw the sifting fairy grass, Ning Cheng also saw the sifting fairy grass on the opposite side. Thump. The huge heart beat again, and this time, Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort completely cracked open. Ning Cheng opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. A powerful pressure came over, making him unable to bring out the blue thunder fort for a while. The blue-robed female cultivator immediately took out a talisman and threw it out. The next moment, a faint light shield covered the three of them. The blue-robed female cultivator showed a weak smile towards Ning Cheng. This is the last defensive talisman. Unfortunately, when my true spirit world shattered, I couldn't bring out enough things. Chapter 695. This defensive light cover should last for a while. Senior apprentice Sister Yi, you and Muan wait for me here. I'll go alone. After Ning Cheng finished, he took out an array disc and threw it on the ground before quickly rushing out. Tian Muan stared at Ning Cheng's voice with only a single voice in her heart. He called me Muan again. When did such a small form of address make her so excited? The blue-robed female cultivator glanced at the array disc Ning Cheng threw on the ground and smiled. It turned out to be a transfer array disc. No wonder he could achieve what he has today. He really thought things through. Tian Muan seemed to be answering the blue-robed female cultivator's words and muttered, he must have suffered a lot to reach where he is today. The blue-robed female cultivator sighed, Muan, although his cultivation is a bit low, he really is a good person. Unfortunately, you missed him. Ah. Tian Muan looked at the blue-robed female cultivator in a daze. The blue-robed female cultivator looked at Ning Cheng's back and suddenly felt a little lonely. Big sister. Tian Muan felt a little uncomfortable in her heart and spoke with a hint of sadness. Muan, when he carried me on his back, he took out a true artifact belt. That belt has no other use except for carrying people on his back. He should have refined it himself. Why do you think he kept such a true artifact belt on him? Tian Muan turned silent. She understood. The blue-robed female cultivator also turned silent. This was the first time she felt a male cultivator's kindness. Ning Cheng felt a lot more relaxed by himself, but as soon as he reached the edge of the Blood Lake, the Blue Thunder City's shadow once again exploded with a thump. Once again bringing out the everlasting Blue Thunder City's shadow, Ning Cheng did not hesitate and stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to rush over. But just as he reached the center of the lake, another thump came over. The huge pressure caused Ning Cheng's figure to stop, and he immediately fell down. The two women, who were nervously staring at Ning Cheng in the distance, screamed out in shock. They did not know what was under the Blood Lake, but with that huge heart, it definitely was not a good place. No one could say for sure what would happen if they fell down. Ning Cheng naturally did not want to fall into this Blood Lake. Regardless of what would happen if he fell, he did not want to fall into this Blood Lake. Ning Cheng had also seen a blood lake or a blood river. When he was in the true cultivation world, Zhang Wei had used his own essence blood to transform into a blood river to absorb the spiritual qi. In the end, he even used the blood essence from the blood river to reconstruct his body. Although Ning Cheng was not used to looking at the blood river, but it was not that uncomfortable. Just looking at the lake of blood made him feel uncomfortable. This feeling made him even more unwilling to touch it. Just as he was about to fall into the blood lake, Ning Cheng raised his hand and threw out an airship Dao artifact. He didn't have many other things, but he had a lot of Dao artifacts and magic treasures. The airship Dao artifact finally landed on the surface of the blood lake. Pa! A sound rang out, causing countless blood flowers to splatter out. Ning Cheng's feet touched the surface of the airship Dao artifact, and once again stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. This time, Ning Cheng landed on the opposite side of the lake. Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator on seeing Ning Cheng land safely on the other side of the lake felt relieved. Ning Cheng also breathed in a sigh of relief. He did not look back, but instead sped up his pace and arrived next to the few strains of sifting fairy grass. What's going on? Tian Muan pointed to the blood lake and called out in surprise. In fact, there was no need for Tian Muan to scream, the blue-robed female cultivator had also seen it. The previously calm blood lake, because of Ning Qing dropping a flight-type Dao artifact, caused the entire blood lake to bubble. Gulyalu. The blood bubbles grew bigger and bigger as time passed. It was like a pot of boiling water, tumbling about incessantly. Ning Qing also felt alarmed by this gurgling sound. Looking at the blood lake full of blood bubbles, he felt a bad feeling in his heart. He quickly grabbed a strain of sifting fairy grass and threw it into the transfer array disc. When the sifting fairy grass was transferred away, Ning Qing immediately began to collect the rest of the sifting fairy grass. He felt that the sooner he left this place, the better it would be. The blue-robed female cultivator, on seeing the sifting fairy grass that Ning Qing had transferred out, excitedly grabbed it. In just a short time, the sifting fairy grass in her hand had already withered. The blue-robed female cultivator closed her eyes, and her face turned from pale to rosy, while her imposing aura slowly rose. After Ning Qing collected 3 strains of sifting fairy grass, he did not want to continue collecting them. He was just about to bring out the twin wings of the heavenly clouds and fly across the blood lake when a huge pressure descended on him. Under this horrifying pressure, he could not move at all. Although he could still exert his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness, he could not break free from this horrifying pressure. Thump! The huge heart beat again, and the shadow of Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder City turned into nothingness. Gulyalu. The blood bubbles in the blood lake finally began to burst, and an endless swarm of dark red insects emerged from the blood lake. As soon as these insects came out, they scrambled to the edge of the blood lake. Moreover, their speed was extremely fast. Ah! Tian Muan screamed. These insects were just too disgusting. It was not that she had never seen disgusting insects before. She had even seen an insect tide. However, the largest of these insects was only the size of a broad bean. Covered in a dark red mucus, they crawled over one after another. There were so many of them that they seemed endless. The swarm of insects made cha-cha sounds and approached like demons. Ning Qing also felt his scalp tingling. He was completely suppressed and could not even struggle for a while. In less than half an incense stick worth of time, these insects would crawl to his side. At that time, he could already imagine his fate. Xiaocheng, you have to leave. Tian Muan screamed. Ning Qing did not have the protection of the Blue Thunder City's shadow. If he stood there and did not leave, wouldn't it be equivalent to courting death? Thump! The huge heart, at this time, was already covered with the dark red mucus insects. But even so, the heart continued to beat. Poof! This time, Ning Qing did not have any defenses and directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Big sister! Tian Muan called out anxiously. She wanted to help Ning Qing, but she could not do anything. Even the edges of their shields were crawling with insects at this time. The insects were about to cover the entire shield, and if they continued, the shield would definitely be bitten open. The blue-robed female cultivator suddenly stood up. Although her cultivation had not fully recovered, she could activate the heaven-opening talisman's child talisman without any problems. She took out a talisman and called out to Ning Qing, "Junior apprentice brother Ning Qing, what's the matter with you? I'm being suppressed. I can't break free yet. You should hurry up and leave." Ning Qing recognized the heaven-opening talisman's child talisman in the blue-robed female cultivator's hand. He felt surprised that the blue-robed female cultivator would have such a talisman. His child talisman could only be used once. Since the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan came from Earth, they should have already used it once. So how could they still have it? Did she have more than one? If you want to leave, let's leave together. The blue-robed female cultivator finished speaking and directly brought out a sword light. "It should be this heart's doing, suppressing you. I'll attack this heart. Once the suppression loosens, you can immediately come over. In this place, the blue-robed female cultivator's spiritual consciousness was also suppressed. Moreover, her cultivation had not fully recovered. Ning Qing did not have time to speak when the blue-robed female cultivator's sword light struck the huge heart. Bang! Like a balloon that had been filled with air, the huge heart suddenly burst open, and countless slimy worms rushed out, letting out terrifying screeches that could pierce one's soul. It's over. Ning Qing screamed in his heart. This heart could not be attacked. It's over. The blue-robed female cultivator also cried out in regret. If she knew that this heart could not be attacked, she would never have done such a thing. Boom boom. Another burst of roaring sounds emerged. Ning Qing had just escaped from the cave, so he naturally knew what this sound was. The blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan also knew what this sound was, causing their expressions to turn ugly to look at. It's the sound of that space-devouring thing. Hurry up and leave, I have a way. Ning Qing called out anxiously. Catcha! The defensive array around Tian Muan and the blue-robed female cultivator's position was bitten open by the dark red insects. A fishy smell rushed in, causing Tian Muan to almost faint. Seeing that the insects were about to drown the two of them, the blue-robed female cultivator gave out a sigh. She grabbed Tian Muan and brought out the child talisman in her hand. It wasn't that she didn't want to help Ning Qing, but she really couldn't do anything about it. Ning Qing, I owe you. The blue-robed female cultivator struggled to speak. Xiao Cheng. Tian Muan screamed out. She only managed to call out 2 words before the blue-robed female cultivator disappeared without a trace. The two of them had just disappeared when endless insects swept through the place where they stood. When the endless insects saw the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan disappear, almost all of them turned around and rushed towards Ning Cheng's side. Ning Qing initially wanted to wait for the devouring space to come here before letting the space devour them. As long as he entered the mysterious yellow bead, even if the devouring space devoured him, he could still keep his life. However, this endless swarm of insects had already arrived in front of him. At this time, Ning Qing couldn't care about the after effects and crazily slashed out with his spiritual consciousness blades, one slash after another. The more spiritual consciousness blades he slashed out, the more chaotic his sea of consciousness became. Fortunately, his efforts finally paid off, and he felt the pressure around him loosen a little. Ning Qing didn't even think about it and desperately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to escape from his original position. Rumble rumble. A loud rumbling sound finally arrived. Ning Cheng's spiritual sense had already reached out to the mysterious yellow bead. As long as the devouring spatial force arrived in front of him, he would immediately enter the mysterious yellow bead. Ning Qing quickly felt that something was wrong. After Ning Qing regained his freedom, the rumbling sound came to an abrupt end. At the same time, Ning Cheng's surroundings completely opened up, and the light also became a lot brighter. The oppressive darkness around him seemed to have been completely swallowed up at this moment. Perhaps because of the sudden appearance of light, the insects chasing after Ning Qing also retreated and gathered around the cracked heart. In the direction of the light, a huge black altar suddenly appeared, with 2 words suspended above the altar, Forefathers' Library. This altar and the heart of the blood lake faced each other, causing Ning Qing, who stood in the middle, to feel uncomfortable. Chapter 696. Ta, ta. Hua hua. The sound of heavy footsteps came from behind the altar. Ning Qing forcibly stabilized his mind, and looked over with rapt attention. A giant with a height of more than 10 feet, was walking over step by step. Every step he took on the ground would cause the surroundings to tremble. What shocked Ning Qing even more was the miserable state of this giant. This giant had a huge bloody hole in his chest, without a heart. His heart seemed to have been forcibly dug out, and blood still flowed down his chest. Moreover, he only had 1 arm, and his only arm and 2 feet were also locked by huge chains. Every step he took, the chains would make a hua hua sound. Even his eye only had one eye left, and it was an empty hole, while the other eye was also blind. The remaining empty eye also had black blood dripping down. The whole person could only be described as miserable. I sacrifice my blood, give me back my heart. I sacrifice my blood, give me back my eyes. The giant walked towards the altar, while his mouth kept repeating these two sentences. Ning Qing subconsciously looked at the blood lake opposite the altar. He suddenly thought of the beating heart in the blood lake. Did it belong to the giant? The giant had already walked to the side of the altar, but he did not care about the altar, and just reached out to grab the heart in the lake. His mouth was still constantly calling out, I sacrifice my blood, give me back my heart. I sacrifice my blood, give me back my eyes. However, the three chains seemed to have calculated the distance, locking the giant in place. The giant's remaining hand could only reach the blood lake, and could no longer move forward even half a step. Looking at the giant bending over, wanting to grab the heart in the blood lake, Ning Qing felt a kind of sadness in his heart. He suddenly had an idea in his heart, to help the giant take out the heart. Or rather, he wanted to help the giant cut off the three chains, and let go of the giant. However, Ning Qing did not lose his mind. He could not even protect himself now. Because he had no way out, he could only temporarily survive in the middle of the altar and the blood lake, not to mention cutting off the three chains. These three chains, even if he was at his peak, he would not be able to cut them off. At this moment, the altar suddenly let out a whining sound, just like the horn of a bull on the battlefield. This kind of whining sound made Ning Qing very uncomfortable, but he had no way to stop it. As the whimpering sound rang out, the giant's attempt to grab the heart became even more restless. He kept trying to rush forward, but every time he did, he would be locked down by the iron chain. Perhaps it was because the giant was struggling too hard, but Ning Qing unexpectedly felt a familiar aura coming from the giant, as if he had seen this kind of aura before. Not waiting for Ning Qing to think about it carefully, the dark red insects in the blood lake were affected by the woo-woo sound of the altar, and once again swarmed towards it. However, these insects seemed to have some sort of pattern to them, and did not rush towards Ning Qing. However, Ning Qing's complexion quickly changed. He was an array formation master, as such he was proficient in array formations, as such he naturally understood what these insects were doing. These insects had actually arranged a peerless blood-sucking formation. Once this formation was completed, all the blood in the surroundings would be sucked into the blood lake. In other words, the blood in his body could not avoid this misfortune either. What a vicious bastard! He actually used the sound of the altar to control these insects to set up a blood-sucking formation. Although Ning Qing was angry in his heart, there was nothing he could do. Kaka. As the insects continued to gather, the array formation finally took shape. Sensing the terrifying suction force, Ning Qing quickly brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder City. His everlasting Blue Thunder City only took a moment before it was sucked away. The essence blood in his body, at this moment, seemed to have gone out of control, wanting to break through his skin and bones, before being sucked into the blood lake. Buzz! While Ning Qing was still resisting, the blood in the giant's body had already formed a blood bridge, which crashed into the blood lake. Ning Qing felt incomparably distressed as he looked at this scene. Although the giant was being tortured in such a manner, the person who had locked him up still did not let it go, and was still constantly sucking the blood from his body. At this time, Ning Qing finally understood where the blood in the blood lake came from. It turned out that it was all sucked out from the giant's body. The giant's roar turned even more mournful and rapid. I offer my blood as a sacrifice, give me back my heart. I offer my blood as a sacrifice, give me back my eyes, Catcha. An explosive sound emerged, and Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder City's shadow once again exploded due to the suction force. The exhausted Ning Cheng once again brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder City's shadow, and suddenly shouted at the giant, "You don't have to snatch your heart. You can't snatch it now, it's just letting the blood lake suck away your blood in vain. You should quickly go back. But before you go back, I would like to ask you to do me a favor, tear open the space in this place and let me go. As long as I, Ning Cheng, do not die, one day I will come back here to help you take back your heart." The giant suddenly stopped rushing towards the blood lake, and looked at Ning Cheng with empty eyes. Ning Cheng, on seeing the giant's reaction, spoke out even louder, "Believe me, as long as I am alive, I will definitely come back to help you." Many years ago, I also helped a person in the same way, but he never came back to help me. The giant's voice was hoarse and emotionless. Ning Cheng felt surprised for a moment. He did not think that someone would deceive this giant in front of him. This made him angry in his heart. That son of a bitch who deceived the giant would definitely cause him to fall here today. Ning Cheng was just about to explain a few words when the giant suddenly spoke up, "I'll help you." After saying this, the giant raised his hand and grabbed the void. A tear in the space appeared in front of Ning Cheng, and a spatial wind edge emerged from the tear. After the giant grabbed the tear in the space, it no longer paid any attention to Ning Cheng, and still rushed towards the blood lake to grab the heart. "I will use my blood as a sacrifice, give me back my heart. I will use my blood as a sacrifice, give me back my eyes." Ning Cheng's heart warmed up, and he shouted at the giant, "I'm leaving, don't try to snatch the heart again, listen to me, hurry back. One day, I will come back to help you. I, Ning Cheng, never break my promise." Catcha! The everlasting blue Thunder City's shadow shattered again, and the tear in the space created by the giant slowly shrank. Ning Cheng did not dare to delay for even a moment. After saying this sentence, he directly rushed into the tear in the space created by the giant. Boom! Ning Cheng had just disappeared when the tear in the space created by the giant completely closed. The blood lake, the altar, and the giant all disappeared. Ning Cheng stood in this space, letting the spatial wind edge hit him for a full incense stick worth of time. Only then did Ning Cheng murmur, "As long as I, Ning Cheng, don't die, one day, I will come back here, destroy those disgusting insects, destroy the altar of forefathers' library, and cut off those 3 chains." After saying this, Ning Cheng silently looked back. At this moment, he felt incomparably small. Even if he cultivated to the middle level of heaven-seated realm, he was still a tiny ant in the vast universe. There were countless existences stronger than him. The moment Ning Cheng brought out the starry sky wheel and prepared to leave, he suddenly paused. At this moment, he remembered the familiar aura coming from the giant. It was an eye nailed to the bottom of a lake. That lake was called the White-Robed Ghost Lake, and that place was called the Forsaken Land. At the bottom of the White-Robed Ghost Lake in the endless desert of the Forsaken Land, a cyan-colored eye was nailed to the bottom by a strange dagger and could not move at all. At this moment, when he linked it to the aura coming from the giant, he finally understood that the cyan-colored eye also belonged to the giant. Ning Cheng shuddered and immediately thought of Princess Man from Yaluan City. Princess Man had a crystal dot on her forehead, and the aura coming from that crystal dot was the same as the eye at the bottom of the lake. Ning Cheng had once thought that Princess Man was the one who wanted to possess the eye. But now he finally understood that Princess Man had already been possessed by someone else. However, the person who wanted to possess her was not the eye at the bottom of the lake. Instead, she wanted to refine the eye at the bottom of the lake into her third eye. This fellow who possessed Princess Man truly had great ambitions. He even wanted to refine the eye of the giant as his third eye. Ning Cheng suddenly felt a little regret in his heart. He should have killed Princess Man at all costs. Although he was sure that Princess Man could not refine the third eye so quickly, he still owed the giant a favor. Since he wanted to help the giant, he should help it to the end. As for that eye, he must bring it back to the giant. Chapter 697. After flying for an hour with the starry sky wheel, Ning Cheng determined that he wasn't in the void crevice between interfaces. He should be somewhere between the starry skies, but Ning Cheng wasn't sure if he was still in the original interface. However, Ning Cheng didn't continue flying and stopped the starry sky wheel. After experiencing these things, he became even more aware of his shortcomings. He had to improve his cultivation. Although he had some cultivation resources on him, he couldn't arrange a time grand array like what Sung Wei had mentioned. Otherwise, if he arranged a time grand array, cultivating for 10 years inside the time grand array would only be equivalent to 1 year outside. Even if he was a grade 7 array emperor, he was still far from being able to arrange a time grand array. Fortunately, he still had the mysterious yellow bead. Cultivating inside the mysterious yellow bead would be much faster than cultivating outside. Half a month later, Ning Qing arranged several shielding array formations in the depths of a broken star in the void before entering the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate. Ning Qing knew that even if he arranged many shielding array formations, if a powerhouse came within a certain distance of him, he would still be discovered. He felt helpless. Who made his mysterious yellow bead lack the wood origin bead? However, he couldn't care less about it now. Time was too important for him. Moreover, with his current cultivation, even if he was discovered by an eternal cultivator, he could easily escape. As a middle-stage heaven-seeded cultivator, he wasn't even worth mentioning in front of some powerhouses. However, Ning Cheng was no longer an ant who hadn't even reached the heaven-seeded realm. Even if an eternal starry sky emperor wanted something from him, they would have to exchange their lives for it. After arranging the array formations, Ning Qing didn't immediately start cultivating. Instead, he began to sort out the things in his hands. He had 2 rings of eternal starry sky emperors. One was picked up from the Shui clan, and the other belonged to Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's Zhu Jingfeng. The eternal cultivator's ring that Shui clan picked up contained a lot of things. In addition to a bunch of good artifact crafting materials and spirit grasses for alchemy, it also contained 2 top-quality starry sky battleships. Cultivators of this level didn't have many purple coins. At most, they had a bunch of perpetual moon pills and permanent essence pills. In this ring, Ning Qing obtained millions of perpetual moon pills and more than 1 million permanent essence pills. This level of wealth was only average for an eternal cultivator. But for Ning Qing, it was a huge harvest. However, these things were nothing compared to Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's Zhu Jingfeng's ring. The crafting materials in Zhu Jingfeng's ring were not only 10 times more, but their grades were also much higher. However, these were not what Ning Qing valued the most. What Ning Qing valued the most was the nearly 10 million permanent essence pills in Zhu Jingfeng's ring and 100 million perpetual moon pills. Although Ning Qing had given 2 pots of none to depend on wine to Bao Shi, there were still more than 10 pots of none to depend on wine inside. Whether the mutual dependence wine in Zhu Jingfeng's ring was real or fake, Ning Qing did not know, nor did he care about it. Even if the mutual dependence wine in Zhu Jingfeng's ring was fake, he still had a barrel of it. What surprised Ning Qing even more was that he found a fist-sized polar star nucleus. The polar star core was also known as the star core flame. It was the core of a fire-type planet. Not every fire-attributed planet had a polar star nucleus. However, to obtain a polar star nucleus, one would have to destroy and refine a fire-attributed planet. This was a good thing that could help a Nirvana Grade 3 flame evolve to a Starry Sky Grade 4 flame. Unfortunately, his Celestial River flame had not undergone Nirvana yet, and its grade was still too low. Therefore, he could not use it for now. Putting away the polar star nucleus, Ning Qing no longer had any scruples and entered the mysterious yellow bead to enter secluded cultivation. Covered Snow City. This was a city on named Descendant Celestial River's second revenant star. Second revenant star was the main star of named Descendant Celestial River. Ning Qing had come to second revenant star to look for his sister Rulan. However, Ning Qing chose to go to second revenant star's premier city, named Descendant City. He had stayed in named Descendant City for a few months. Compared to named Descendant City, Covered Snow City wasn't a big city on second revenant star. In fact, it was just a small and remote city. Moreover, it was located on the edge of second revenant star. This city was covered in snow all year round, which gave it the name Covered Snow City. In the eastern part of Covered Snow City, there was a famous bridge called the East Gate Bridge. The East Gate Bridge spanned a river that ran through the entire Covered Snow City, dividing Covered Snow City into east and west halves. The eastern side lacked Starry Sky Essence Chi and was home to ordinary cultivators and rogue cultivators. The western side had rich Starry Sky Essence Chi and was home to some of Covered Snow City's sex or wealthy cultivators. Although the eastern side lacked Starry Sky Essence Chi, every inch of land in Covered Snow City was still worth its weight in gold. In the eastern part of the city, a few thousand meters away from the bridgehead of the East Gate Bridge, there was a relatively small restaurant called Ching Rulan Restaurant. Although Ching Rulan Restaurant was a restaurant, it only had 3 people. The restaurant's owner, Helian Mingzhe, his granddaughter Helian Dai, and a helper, Ning Rulan. Although Ching Rulan Restaurant was small, many rogue cultivators were willing to come here to drink. It was mainly because the wine in this restaurant was cheap and of good quality. One could buy a pot of good wine with 100 blue coins. Apparently, Ning Cheng's sister, Ning Rulan, came up with the name of this restaurant. Ning Rulan also came up with this name because she feared that Ning Cheng would find this place. According to her original idea, she wanted to go to Descendant City to buy a shop. Unfortunately, the property prices in Descendant City were too high, and she couldn't afford it. Later, she wanted to buy a shop in a city near Descendant City, but she couldn't afford the price. In the end, she could only come to Covered Snow City. Fortunately, although Covered Snow City was remote, it was still on Second Revenant Star. Ning Rulan didn't come to Descendant City alone. Rui Baishan, Luo Zian, Ke Hongshui, Taishu Pingho, Meng Jingxiu, Xian Saixue, and the others also came with her. Ning Rulan insisted on staying in Second Revenant Star to wait for her brother Ning Cheng. She firmly believed that her brother would find Second Revenant Star. In the beginning, everyone was willing to wait with Ning Rulan. But later, Rui Baishan disappeared, and the rest of them also felt that there was no future in staying here. When Ning Rulan arrived at Covered Snow City, everyone started to separate and go their separate ways. Ning Rulan stayed alone in Covered Snow City. Later, she met Helian Dai and followed Helian Dai to her family's small restaurant. Because Ning Rulan was good at running a business, she quickly doubled the profits of the restaurant and won the trust of Helian Dai and her grandfather, Helian Mingzhe. Finally, Ning Rulan named this nameless restaurant Ching Rulan Restaurant, mainly targeting rogue cultivators who weren't rich. But today, the Ching Rulan Restaurant, which usually opened on time every day, was tightly closed. Inside the restaurant, a man with a sickly face had a sad look on his face. These people are too shameless. Our restaurant has been here for more than 100 years. Now that a mystic realm has appeared on the east side of Covered Snow City, all kinds of people come here. We don't want to move. Let's see what they can do to our Ching Rulan Restaurant. A green-robed woman sitting on the right spoke with anger. The sickly man knew that his granddaughter spoke out of anger. He sighed, looked at the yellow-robed woman on the left, and asked, "Rulan, what do you think?" The beautiful woman on the left was Ning Rulan, who Ning Cheng had brought to Graceful Star Mainland. She had stayed in Covered Snow City for many years, waiting for her big brother to find her. She also knew that with her current celestial novice cultivation, it would be impossible to find her big brother Ning Cheng in the vast universe. This place wasn't Earth, but the endless starry sky universe. Ning Rulan hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Grandpa Helian, junior apprentice sister Dai, we have to leave. If we stay here, I'm afraid that the 3 of us won't even know how we died." The sickly man nodded and said to the green-robed female cultivator, "Little Dai, Rulan is right. We have to leave. You and Rulan both have celestial novice cultivation, and I'm only a celestial gatherer cultivator. Moreover, I'm still injured. Any celestial gatherer cultivator could easily eat us up, let alone people from G clan. If we stay here, not only would we not be able to keep our restaurant, but our lives would also be in danger." But. Helian Dai said a few buts in succession. Although she felt unwilling, she couldn't find the words to refute it. She knew that elder sister Rulan and her grandpa were right. They had to leave. Ning Rulan understood Helion Dai's unwillingness and sighed. The ancient Shadow Temple's mystic realm suddenly appeared not far from Covered Snow City. I guess a lot of people would come here. At that time, the territory outside Covered Snow City would become even more precious. Let's give up the restaurant now and occupy a piece of land outside Covered Snow City. That way, we can still do business in the future. Helion Mingzhi nodded. Let's do as Rulan said. When the ancient Shadow Temple appears, it would definitely attract a lot of cultivators to Covered Snow City. Maybe our business would even improve. Although the three of them knew that it was just self-comfort, they had to do it. Instead of waiting for others to take away Qing Rulan's restaurant, it was better to give it up as soon as possible. Boom! Helion Mingzhi's words had just ended when the restaurant's doors burst open. A red-robed woman stood at the entrance, followed by 3 male cultivators. The scarlet-robed woman's gaze swept over Ning Rulan and the other 2 before she spoke up in an ice-cold tone. I brought the message yesterday, yet you still haven't left. Do you want me to personally ask you to leave, or are you deaf? Seeing Helion Dai suddenly stand up, Ning Rulan quickly spoke up. Senior apprentice sister, please calm down. We were planning to move away. We just wanted to discuss where to go. She knew that Helion Dai couldn't speak. If Helion Dai angered the people in front of her, none of them would survive today. She had a clear understanding of the power of the people in front of her. Get lost. The red-robed woman didn't give Ning Rulan a chance to explain and slapped her. Ning Rulan only had a celestial novice cultivation, while this red-robed female cultivator was a full-circle celestial gatherer cultivator. How could she avoid it? The red-robed female cultivator slapped Ning Rulan directly against the wall of the restaurant, shattering several jars of wine on the wall and spilling over the floor. Seeing Ning Rulan stand up in anger, Helion Mingzhi quickly stood in front of Ning Rulan and blocked Ning Rulan's path. At the same time, he called out, Little Dai, hurry up and help elder sister Rulan. We're leaving now. Helion Dai knew that staying here would only lead to death. Therefore, without waiting for Helion Mingzhi to finish his words, she rushed up and helped Ning Rulan up. Following Helion Mingzhi, the 3 hurriedly left through the side door. They didn't even take anything from the restaurant. Chapter 698. When the 3 came out from the back of the restaurant, Helion Dai looked at the mess around her with a stunned expression. After a long time, she spoke up with fear, Grandpa, big sister Rulan, aren't we lucky? Ning Rulan and Helion Mingzhi also felt shocked by the scene in front of them. Helion Dai was right, they were lucky. The East Gate Bridge originally had a variety of shops and rest stops. But now, these shops had all turned into ruins, with more than a dozen corpses scattered around. They all knew these corpses, they belonged to the shop owners who used to live not far from them. But now, these shop owners had all turned into corpses. Ning Rulan remained silent. This was a world of the strong, where the strong preyed on the weak. At this moment, the law of the jungle was exposed. Originally, the East Gate Bridge had formed a balance of power. Although there were some occasional fights, it would not affect the overall situation. But once more powerful forces poured in, this balance of power would immediately break. Maybe after a while, a new balance of power would form, but it would have nothing to do with them. Let's go. Helion Mingzhi sighed and said. The 3 of them didn't say anything. Covered Snow City was a real starry sky city of second revenant star, and it also had certain rules and restrictions. Who else would dare to break these rules and openly occupy this place and kill other cultivators, besides Ji Clan? Because of the direct scouring of the mysterious yellow origin aura and the other origin auras, Ning Cheng's cultivation shot up like a rocket. The celestial essence aura and the origin aura formed from the 2 spiritual veins and countless permanent essence pills directly wrapped around Ning Cheng, making it impossible to see his figure. Moreover, the mysterious yellow formless inside the mysterious yellow bead became even more powerful. Ning Cheng immersed himself in this crazy cultivation rise and didn't even know how long he had been cultivating. Right now, he only had a vague feeling that he was about to break through the heaven-seated realm and advance to the life and death realm. The life and death realm was the second realm of the destiny's three realms. Only cultivators who understood life and death and broke through yin and yang could touch the life and death realm. For ordinary starry sky cultivators, if they wanted to advance to the life and death realm, they had to rely on life and death concept pills. This kind of pill allowed cultivators to feel the samsara between life and death, giving birth to the two worlds of yin and yang, the two heavens of joy and sorrow. Therefore, cultivators who could refine life and death concept pills had to be pill emperors above the life and death realm. Ning Qing did not have such a pill, but in the depths of his heart, a feeling arose. As long as he continued to comprehend and cultivate, he would definitely advance to the life and death realm. At this time, Ning Cheng was completely immersed in the desire of the life and death realm, and was completely immersed in the realm of crazy cultivation that he could not extricate himself from. If it was before, if someone could come to this place, he would definitely be vigilant, but now, even if someone took away the mysterious yellow bead, he was afraid that he would not be able to wake up. He had fallen into a kind of obsession. If not for the mysterious yellow origin aura, then perhaps he would have already turned into a devil. At this moment, he was already standing in front of a towering tower whose top could not be seen. This tower was somewhat familiar to him. Soon, he recalled that this pagoda was similar to the Starry Sky Pagoda on the Culmination Public Square. However, the Starry Sky Pagoda on the Culmination Public Square only had 49 levels, while this pagoda seemed to have more than 49 levels. Deep in his heart, there was a calling. As long as he passed this tower, he would be able to break through the sky realm and directly see the life and death realm. As the mysterious yellow aura washed over him, Ning Cheng's consciousness suddenly sobered up a bit. He immediately stopped his footsteps towards the tower. Wasn't he cultivating in seclusion? Why did he come here? Was this an illusion? No, this was not an illusion. Ning Cheng quickly put aside the idea of an illusion. The pagoda in front of him was very clear, and his will to advance to the life and death realm was also very firm. Ning Cheng did not hesitate and stepped into the pagoda. A pale golden staircase appeared in front of Ning Cheng, and Ning Cheng had just stepped onto the staircase when a powerful distorting pressure descended. Sure enough, this was not an illusion. Ning Cheng felt even more sure. If it were an illusion, he would not have felt such a clear distorting pressure. Ning Cheng stimulated his celestial essence and released his celestial river domain as he walked up step by step. He kept reminding himself that he was advancing to the life and death realm and must not be impatient. 1 floor, 2 floors, 10 floors, 15 floors, the higher Ning Cheng went, the greater the pressure. However, Ning Cheng felt more and more delighted. With every floor he climbed, his spirit technique seemed to have solidified a bit more. The 27th floor, the 28th floor, the 36th floor, the 37th floor. At this moment, Ning Cheng once again forgot that he had come to this pagoda to pursue the life and death realm. He also forgot that as long as he crossed this pagoda, he could advance to the life and death realm. At this moment, he only knew that he had to keep climbing up the floors of the pagoda, constantly gaining insights, allowing his spirit technique to grow stronger and stronger. At the same time, in the Grand Culmination Starry Skies Culmination Public Square, a cultivator standing on the public square suddenly exclaimed, "Look, the Eternal Starry Sky Tower has changed to 50 floors. Idiot, the Eternal Starry Sky Tower's 49th floor is 7-7, and it has remained 49th floor for countless years." A cultivator immediately scolded. The Culmination 3 towers were the symbol of culmination in the hearts of all the cultivators in the Grand Culmination Starry Sky. Even cultivators from the other Grand Starry Skies would come to the Culmination Grand Public Square to try to enter the Culmination 3 towers. Ah, it really has changed to 50 floors. Another cultivator exclaimed, but soon his voice changed. It's not 50 floors, it's the 51st floor. The Eternal Starry Sky Tower on the Culmination Public Square had changed from 49 floors to 51 floors. No one would believe such a ridiculous thing if it was said in other places. But since it was said here, they had to believe it. Because all the cultivators on the Culmination Public Square could see it with their eyes, they could even count the number of floors in the Eternal Starry Sky Tower. It's true, the number of floors in the Eternal Starry Sky Tower is increasing. Voices of disbelief rang out in the Culmination Public Square. The facts were right in front of them, and they had to believe it. Boom! A violent explosion erupted, and all the cultivators on the Culmination Public Square looked at the huge array formation display in front of the Eternal Starry Sky Tower in shock. Just now, the array formation display had exploded. Such a strange thing had never happened in the Culmination Public Square. Just when all the cultivators looked at each other, not knowing whether it was a blessing or a curse, another thing appeared in front of the Eternal Starry Sky Tower. It was a huge stone tablet. This stone tablet that suddenly appeared is also growing. A cultivator whispered. He seemed to be afraid that if his voice was too loud, the stone tablet would suddenly explode. The cultivators on the public square immediately quieted down. They could see that this stone tablet was not only growing, but it was also the same size as the Eternal Starry Sky Tower. The stone tablet had many distinct markings on it. Every time the Eternal Starry Sky Tower grew, the stone tablet would have an additional layer of markings. At this time, the Eternal Starry Sky Tower had already reached the 63rd floor. The Culmination Public Square's Eternal Starry Sky Tower was crazily growing. This strange news instantly spread throughout the Culmination Starland and then spread out at the fastest speed. Chuan Xinluo was the first to appear in the Culmination Public Square, and then the various experts began to pour into the Culmination Public Square. Even the eternal powerhouses from the Grand Spirit Heaven, Devil Domain, and Demon Domain Starry Sky also rushed to the Culmination Starland. Burning his celestial essence to fight it head-on would be akin to neglecting the essentials. The best way was to find the source of this power. He led the skinny horse and wanted to see his lover clearly on the ancient road, but the yellow sand blocked his eyes. As the sun set in the west, the ancient path was gradually submerged in the yellow sand that filled the sky. Everything in front of him slowly became blurry and darkness descended. Catcha! The crystal ball shattered, causing Ning Cheng to suddenly wake up. He looked up at the empty and boundless surroundings, while cold sweat oozed out from his back. If someone had suddenly used a killer move while he was immersed in his sorrowful emotions, he would have died long ago. So this was none to depend on, a heart path spirit technique. Bringing out the Nirvana Spear, the sad and disappointed Dao Charm followed the Nirvana Spear and filled the entire world. At this moment, this piece of heaven and earth turned into an ancient path. At this moment, his opponent was staring blankly at the yellow sand on the ancient path. At this moment, the entire world was filled with sorrow. At this moment, he was the ruler. He was the ruler of this world. As long as his Nirvana Spear swept out, everything in this world would perish. Whether it was the ancient path, the west wind, or the skinny horse, no matter how powerful one's opponent was. Ning Cheng put away his spear and stood still. Everything around him returned to its original state, and the sad aura dissipated without a trace. In front of him was still the 72nd floor. There was no ancient path, no west wind, no skinny horse, and no yellow sand. So, this is none to depend on. Ning Cheng muttered to himself, what a powerful spirit technique. He felt sure that if he encountered the none to depend on spirit technique for the first time, with his temperament, he would have fallen for it. Whether it was a good person or a bad person, whether it was a devil or an angel, whether it was a god or a monster, in their hearts, there was always a place that belonged to the depths of their souls, a place that no one else could touch. As long as this place existed, it would lead to the none to depend on spirit technique. Taking in a deep breath, Ning Cheng slowly walked towards the 73rd floor. On the 72nd floor, he had gained too much. The powerful pressure from the golden staircase swept over, but Ning Cheng no longer burned his celestial essence. Instead, his body exuded an aura of Dao Charm, and his celestial river domain merged with the powerful force around him. The powerful pressure from the golden staircase instantly weakened, allowing Ning Cheng to easily cross the staircase and reach the 73rd floor. Sure enough, as long as one could find the source of power, Ning Cheng understood that the pressure source in this tower was a kind of law force. As long as one integrated and understood the laws within it, the surrounding pressure would instantly weaken. Once one fully grasped the laws within it, walking on this staircase would feel like taking a leisurely stroll. 74th floor, 75th floor. As Ning Cheng continued to ascend, his returning to one Dao charm grew more and more condensed. At the same time, his understanding of the laws of heaven and earth also grew clearer. He directly passed through the 79th floor and arrived at the 80th floor. From the looks of it, this tower was the same as the 9x9 celestial scryer tower that he had visited before, which also had 81 floors. Ning Cheng didn't hesitate. He didn't even have time to comprehend the Dao charm on the 80th floor before stepping onto the staircase leading to the 81st floor. The returning to one Dao charm merged with the Dao charm of the tower's staircase, forming golden ripples around Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng felt like he was walking through these golden ripples, surrounded by a golden glow. Ning Cheng had just reached the 81st floor when the surrounding scenery suddenly changed. He no longer felt like he was inside the tower. Instead, he found himself surrounded by a vast starry sky. Beyond the vast starry sky was an even more vast and boundless void. Ning Cheng felt like he was standing in the middle of this endless starry sky, and his Dao charm also intertwined with this endless space. He could feel that the laws of this vast universe were broken and incomplete, which gave him an impulse to change the incomplete Dao charm laws of heaven and earth and make it whole. With just a thought, the Dao charm laws floated in front of his eyes before merging into the starry sky. The endless starry sky universe in front of him seemed to have become richer, and the Dao charm laws also gradually improved. The rumbling sounds of the perfected laws echoed in Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. His gaze felt like a ray of light shooting out from the eyes of the sky, passing through layer after layer of interface space and passing through layer after layer of living worlds. At this moment, he felt like a ruler, standing high above the clouds. Time flowed slowly, and Ning Cheng immersed himself in this wonderful feeling. He seemed to like the feeling of being in control of everything. The laws of heaven and earth had changed because of him, and the universe had perfected its Dao charm laws because of him. Not knowing how much time had passed, a mysterious yellow aura washed over, and Ning Cheng suddenly woke up. He was just a little cultivator who hadn't advanced to the life and death realm. How could he change the laws of heaven and earth? How could he control the Dao charm of the universe? The moment he woke up, everything around him disappeared, and the starry sky of the universe turned into nothingness. His gaze could no longer pass through the interface space, and he could only see the things on this floor. The tower was still the same tower. Apart from the words 81st floor, floating in front of him, there was nothing else. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He knew that he had fallen into an illusion just now. It felt as if he had really become the ruler of the universe and could truly perfect the laws of heaven and earth. Fortunately, the mysterious yellow aura woke him up in time. Otherwise, he would have been arrogant enough to think that he could change the laws of heaven and earth of the entire starry sky universe. Sure enough, this tower only had 81 floors. Ning Cheng sighed in relief. Here, he no longer sensed the golden staircase leading to the 82nd floor. This clearly showed that there were no higher levels in the tower. Something is not right. Ning Cheng suddenly remembered the purpose of him entering this tower. He wanted to cross this tower in order to touch the life and death realm, and to comprehend the life and death realm. But now, not only could he not see where the tower's exit was, he couldn't even see the path he had come from. Right now, he was about to advance to the life and death realm. If he couldn't see the exit of the tower, how could he get out of the tower? If he could not leave the tower, how could he advance to the life and death realm? Life and death realm, understanding yin and yang, understanding life and death were a cycle. Only by understanding this cycle could one touch the life and death realm. Only the life and death concept pill could simulate the concept of life and death reincarnation. Ning Cheng was an alchemy master, so he naturally knew about the life and death concept pill. He did not have a life and death mentality pellet. If he wanted to advance to the life and death realm, besides passing through this tower, he would need a mentality pellet that could simulate the life and death reincarnation. The cycle of life and death, why did he need such a pill? He had already reincarnated once, from life to death, and from death to life again. The mysterious yellow bead was a witness, and the mysterious yellow bead had accompanied him from death to life. Ning Cheng vaguely grasped a kind of understanding of life and death. Death and life were separated by a cycle, and he had experienced this cycle of reincarnation. Unlike others, he could still remember his previous life and this life after this cycle of reincarnation. His understanding of the cycle of life and death was much clearer than others, much clearer than others. Just as Ning Cheng understood this moment, a golden door suddenly appeared at the end of the 81st floor. This golden door had a Tao charm of life and death samsara lingering over it. Ning Cheng felt pleasantly surprised. He knew that as long as he pushed open this golden door, he could directly blast open the cultivation barrier to the life and death realm and advance to the life and death realm. Ning Cheng suppressed the joy in his heart, took a deep breath, walked up to the golden door, and pushed it open with both hands. Boom! The sky above the culmination grand public square and the eternal starry sky tower erupted with golden light. Some of the cultivators with lower cultivations in the culmination public square even prostrated themselves on the ground and began to worship. It wasn't just this kind of heavenly phenomenon, but they also felt that the golden light seemed to have deepened their understanding. The top of the eternal starry sky tower had already become uncountable, and all the cultivators in the culmination public square had the same thought. The eternal starry sky tower seemed to have merged with the starry sky, and no one could count how many floors it had. Some cultivators in the heaven-seated realm and above looked at the changed eternal starry sky tower with fiery eyes. They could feel that the laws within the eternal starry sky tower seemed to be completely different from before. Perhaps, if they entered the eternal starry sky tower again, they would gain more recognition from this vast universe and understand more things. Chapter 700. Ning Cheng pushed open the golden door and saw the vast starry sky. In the vast starry sky, a pure white stone tablet floated. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate it. Was he still in an illusion? Ning Cheng frowned and raised his hand to grab the pure white stone tablet. The stone tablet felt cold and hard to the touch, without any illusions. What was going on? Ning Cheng had just thought of this when the scene around him suddenly disappeared. Was he still in the mysterious yellow bead? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and found that he was still in the mysterious yellow bead. The tower had also disappeared, and the vast starry sky around him. No, the vast starry sky was still there, but the starry sky had become the starry sky inside the mysterious yellow bead. Ning Cheng looked around the mysterious yellow bead in shock. His mysterious yellow bead had changed. Originally, it only contained the aura of the origin laws, but now it contained the aura of the starry sky. His mysterious yellow bead also contained the aura of the starry sky, and it was still improving. That's right, the aura of the mysterious yellow bead's laws was constantly improving. Ning Cheng finally sobered up. He should have gone into seclusion inside the mysterious yellow bead. After advancing to the full circle of the heaven-seated realm, he wanted to break through the heaven-seated realm and advance to the life and death realm. Originally, to break through the heaven-seated realm and advance to the life and death realm, he needed to leave the mysterious yellow bead and find the life and death concept pill. However, he ended up falling into an illusion and entered an 81-story tower. No, apart from the 81-story tower, there was also a golden door leading to the starry sky. Later, he perfected his Tao of returning to one in this tower and even gained a deeper understanding of the sunset's twilight and the maximal flame spirit techniques. That's right, he also mastered a new spirit technique, none to depend on. Finally, he broke through the 81st floor of the tower and arrived at a new vast starry sky. When he grabbed a pure white stone tablet, everything disappeared without a trace. It was just that the laws of his mysterious yellow bead had started to change. To be more precise, the laws of his mysterious yellow bead had started to improve. The mysterious yellow bead no longer contained a few kinds of origin auras, instead, it continued to improve the world's laws. Perhaps one day, his mysterious yellow bead would become the same as the outside world and become a real starry sky world. This definitely wasn't an illusion. Ning Cheng looked down and saw a pure white stone tablet in his hand. He took in a deep breath and murmured, "It really wasn't an illusion." Although the pagoda was gone, the pure white stone tablet was still in his hands. Even his spiritual consciousness could not penetrate through this stone steel. Moreover, it contained a vast and boundless starry sky aura. This definitely was not an ordinary object. This kind of thing did not belong to the mysterious yellow bead itself, nor did it belong to him. The only explanation was that everything he had experienced before was real. But when he woke up from that state again, everything disappeared. Perhaps one day, when his cultivation reached a certain level, he would be able to restore the scene from before. Now, only the stone tablet in his hand and the god art he comprehended could prove that everything he experienced was real. Putting away the stone steel, Ning Cheng found that he had already used up half of the 10 million permanent essence pills. The starry sky essence chi vein he obtained from the Su clan had also been completely consumed. Not only that, but even the starry sky essence chi vein he obtained from the Interdependence Chamber of Commerce had shrunk by less than half. The consumption was simply too terrifying. Ning Cheng gave out a sigh. Every time he took a step forward, the consumption of cultivation resources would increase by several times. Fortunately, his cultivation base had reached the full circle of heaven realm, which was similar to the feeling in the pagoda. He had touched the life and death realm. Walking out of the mysterious yellow bead, Ning Cheng directly arranged a spiritual gathering array formation on the broken starland. He had already touched the life and death realm. In other words, he didn't need the life and death mentality pellet at all. He could go through the life and death calamity and attack the life and death realm. When Ning Cheng started to attack the life and death realm, he finally understood what it meant when he said that the perception of the Tao was directly related to the level of one's realm. Initially, when he tried to break through to the heaven-seated realm, he had to go through it countless times. Finally, with the help of the Celestial River Essence Chi King Pill, he barely managed to break through it. But at this time, when he tried to break through to the life and death realm, it was as if the conditions were right. His celestial essence directly blasted into the cultivation barrier of the life and death realm. This kind of violent impact caused his entire meridians to sway, and even his Zifu was trembling from the impact. It was conceivable that as long as he kept attacking, the life and death realm would eventually be broken. However, Ning Cheng had only launched his first attack when violent lightning arcs roared out. As the endless lightning arcs fell, Ning Cheng was unable to calculate how many lightning arcs there were. Boom! Kacha, just the first wave of lightning arcs blasted the broken starland where Ning Cheng resided into pieces. All that remained under Ning Cheng's feet was a broken meteorite with a radius of a few dozen miles. Even Ning Cheng's clothes had turned into nothingness at this moment. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to come up with any defensive means, even more powerful lightning tribulation arcs descended. These lightning arcs were like a real thunder waterfall, mixed with a substantial thunderball. Poof! Under the powerful lightning arcs, Ning Cheng spat out a mouthful of blood for the first time, while his bones broke inch by inch. Even if Ning Cheng operated the mysterious yellow formless and the body-forging cultivation method to the extreme, even if he was a body-forging expert with a celestial river body, he still couldn't block this terrifying lightning tribulation. Ning Cheng felt a shadow in his heart. Ever since he obtained the everlasting Blue Thunder City, which allowed him to refine the thunder source and body-forging technique, he had never put thunder tribulations in his eyes. In fact, it also proved that he did not fear thunder tribulations at all. No matter what kind of thunder tribulation it was, it would not hurt him. Thunder tribulations could only help him advance to a higher level faster, allowing his body forging technique to progress further. But today, he unexpectedly couldn't block this thunder tribulation. Not only could he not block it, but just the first wave of the thunder tribulation had already seriously injured him. Boom boom boom. The endless lightning arc seemed to know that they had won the first wave, and when the second wave fell, it was even more violent. Ning Qing struggled to get up, raised his hand, and brought out the everlasting blue thunder city, while swallowing several healing medicinal pills. Since he could start body forging, he had never relied on the everlasting blue thunder city during a thunder tribulation. But today, he had to bring out the everlasting blue thunder city to resist. Kacha! Kacha! The second wave of the thunder tribulation was even more violent. More than half of Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder city had turned solid, but under this kind of thunder waterfall, it still exploded. Under the thunder tribulation, the everlasting blue thunder city looked like a ruined city, with half of it destroyed. The shadow that had not yet turned solid directly turned into nothingness. Rumble. The remaining thunder waterfall once again smashed down on the everlasting blue thunder city, directly hitting Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's bones continued to break, while his skin once again turned into a bloody mess. If not for the everlasting blue thunder city being Ning Cheng's weapon, he would have turned into a meat patty by now. But this time, with the help of the everlasting blue thunder city, although Ning Cheng's bones continued to break, his life was saved. At this moment, Ning Cheng only knew how to crazily absorb the thunder source to repair his bones and temper his corporeal body. When the third wave of the thunder tribulation descended, the everlasting blue thunder city continued to block it. Although the aftershocks caused Ning Cheng's injuries to worsen, Ning Cheng continued to use it to temper his corporeal body. Under this kind of violent thunder that could kill him at any time, Ning Cheng completely forgot that he was still trying to break through to the life and death realm and put all his energy into tempering his corporeal body. In other words, even if Ning Cheng wanted to break through to the life and death realm, he could not. Under this kind of violent thunder tribulation, he could only protect himself. He had no spare energy to break through to the life and death realm. The thunder tribulation seemed endless, and it continued to descend. Ning Cheng's cultivation did not change, but his corporeal body was getting stronger and stronger, and his celestial river body was gradually reaching perfection. This was probably the longest time Ning Cheng had ever taken to surmount a tribulation. He could not remember how many days he had resisted, nor could he remember how many waves of thunder tribulation he had endured. He only remembered that he had to constantly bring out the everlasting blue thunder city to block the terrifying thunder tribulation, and then use a body-forging cultivation method to strengthen his corporeal body. Boom! Another thunder waterfall descended, and Ning Cheng's celestial essence finally could not hold on. His everlasting blue thunder city's corporeal form grew weaker and weaker before finally turning into a shadow once again. The blue thunder city's shadow, under the bombardment of this thunder waterfall, directly turned into nothingness, and the remaining lightning struck Ning Cheng's body. Kaka, poof. At this moment, Ning Cheng's skin turned even more miserable, and almost all his bones shattered. Even if he had a strong self-sustaining ability, he could not reverse this decline. The violent thunder arcs and thunder waterfall bombardment, which shattered all of Ning Cheng's bones, also allowed Ning Cheng's body to break through to the celestial river realm. The moment Ning Cheng's corporeal body rushed into the starry sky body, his broken bones began to reform. It was like a spring breeze blowing through a field burned by fire, with new grass struggling to emerge from the soil. Kaka. Sounds once again filled Ning Cheng's body, but this time, it was no longer the sound of bones breaking, but the sound of bones reforming. In just a few breaths, Ning Cheng's bones had completely reformed, and his flesh and skin also quickly recovered. Boom boom boom. A new wave of thunder tribulation descended, with lightning arcs and thunder waterfalls mixed with dense thunderballs. Ning Cheng roared and suddenly abandoned the broken meteorite under his feet and rushed into the sky. This was the first time he had been bullied so miserably by a thunder tribulation. Although his body had reached the starry sky body realm under the suppression of this powerful thunder tribulation, he could not eliminate the grievance in his heart. Only by rushing up to bombard this thunder tribulation and fighting back with all his might could he feel a sense of comfort and pleasure. He didn't even bother to attack the life and death realm. He wanted to get back at the bullying of this thunder tribulation. You hit me, bully me, suppress me, I will fight back, bully back, suppress back. Don't expect me to be kind enough to return good for evil. Don't expect me to endure it. 1 punch, 2 punches. In this moment, Ning Cheng had no idea how many punches he had thrown. He didn't use any spirit techniques or weapons, just fists made of flesh and blood. He wanted to use his fists to fight against this thunder tribulation that wanted to kill him. Every punch landed on the spot, and every punch landed on a lightning arc, ka. Bang 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 bang. The fists and lightning intersected, producing dull sounds. However, no flesh and blood flew out, only bloody scars. After Ning Cheng advanced to the starry sky body, the thunder tribulation could no longer suppress him like before. Instead, it left his body in tatters. Boom rumble. The thunder tribulation seemed to have angered Ning Cheng's arrogance and gave out even more violent roars. At the same time, more powerful lightning arcs descended. Ning Cheng's eyes narrowed, and he could clearly feel the laws within the thunder tribulation becoming clearer. This was the first time he had felt such clear laws of heaven and earth in a thunder tribulation. In the distance, a flight-type magical weapon that had arrived because of this terrifying thunder tribulation stopped thousands of miles away. He stared at Ning Cheng rushing towards the thunder tribulation arcs, and the roars of the thunder tribulation. He couldn't help but mutter to himself, "Crazy, this is simply crazy." You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.